Welcome to the Horror Hangout podcast where film fans watch the best and worst horror movies and talk about them. My name is Ben Errington, and today I'm joined by regular co-host Mr.
Andy Conduit Turner. Hello, Ben, and indeed everybody. How are you all?
Hello, everybody. Don't respond just yet to that question because we're joined by a very, very special guest this week. Zara Mary is a horror-obsessed film reviewer, host of the Reet Scary podcast. Welcome to the show, Zara. Hello.
Hello, thank you for having me.
You're very, very
Hey, thank you for
welcome.
joining us.
Thank you for joining us in a very spooky looking room you've got going on as well.
Well,
Lots of
fits the
cool
vibe.
collectibles. Fits the vibe, yeah, it does.
Yeah.
A- Any particular collectibles you want to shout out? We've got loads of good stuff going on back there.
I mean, I'm not a huge prop memorabilia collector. I collect a lot of art prints. I think
Nice.
that's my
Hmm.
thing. I think my most prized possession is I also do a lot of drawing, so I make art as well.
Oh wow.
Um, my favorite film of all time is The Exorcist, and I did an Exorcist drawing and got Eileen Dietz to sign it. So that
Oh
is my
That's
wow.
incredible.
most prized possession.
Was that like an Eileen Dietz like met her at a convention or something?
Yeah, at HorrorCon 2023, I think it was. Very strange, sweet little lady who
Not.
plays Pazuzu, one of the
Yeah.
most terrifying demons ever.
Not as scary in person, I imagine, but I bet if you
No.
met her in a dark alley.
Yeah, you'd
Or
swerve.
if you were like, you're at the con, you think, oh, I tell you what, all these con drinks have gone straight through me. You've got to nip to the toilet, and then if you're in the cubicle and you hear that voice coming next to you,
Yeah, no thanks.
What would you be saying in the cubicle next to you, next to anyone?
any toilet roll in there next to just pass it under, will you? That's all. If
Famously,
Pazuzu was like an East End,
Yeah.
Pazuzu was definitely in EastEnders.
yeah,
Um,
get out of my pub.
Get out my bloody pub. Famous line, famous Pazuzu line. Um, yeah. So thanks for joining us, Sarah. Obviously, you've
Thank
just got
you.
started on a new podcast, Reet Scary podcast as well. This is on top of your like huge social media following and all the reviews you've been doing on there for a long, long time. Well, how long have you been doing horror content online for? Would you say?
It started in lockdown, so 2020. So this is my fifth year of doing it.
It's
Yeah.
crazy how many people started in lockdown, right? How many
Yeah.
wonderful creators emerged from the gloom of the pandemic. Somewhat similar to maybe that happened in real life after or sorry, in fiction life after the Train to Busan epidemic. Maybe loads of people were like, you know what, I'm gonna start doing some lovely horror content as well.
Maybe.
Maybe exactly. And then obviously on top of that, makeup looks, cosplay stuff as well. You got going on. It's all very
Yeah.
very it's all awesome. It must. I mean, how much work really does go into that sort of stuff?
I do treat it as a part-time job. So I work full time. I have a day job Monday to Friday, sometimes bleeding into the weekends. And I probably do spend anywhere between 20 and 30 hours on creating content, whether it's watching films, reviewing them, recording, doing cosplays, all of that funny business. So
This
yeah,
is it,
Yeah.
but
Ben, and this is where the whole thing comes together, Ben. All of this whole years of podcasting we've been doing, it's all a means to an end. Because technically, think of all the guests we've been having. We get actors, we get artists and designers like Zara here. We have writers, we have directors, we have producers, we have all sorts. This, Ben, is all the long game to finally get Boo Year's Eve, the film that began as a title, but soon will become, I would
Yeah,
say, independent horror's
we,
magnum opus
we kind
that
of
we're going to
think
get off the ground.
by doing a podcast every week, it puts us in good place to make our own horror movie. But the thing is, neither of us have done any work to actually make it happen. You know, when you're kind of like, I've got this goal, right? I've got this goal. Oh, are you doing any? Well, how often do you work on that then? Never, never, ever.
Got
Exactly.
the fun, Ben. But
Not
we
20
one
to
one
30
day
hours a week.
we'll get around it,
Yeah,
and
I mean, we're
we'll
probably not as hardworking as you when it comes to the horror content, but I think we put a lot of time and effort into it, don't we, Andy?
yeah.
yeah certainly put the hours in. Certainly watching the movies. But Zara, I've been
2 hours a week.
obviously knowing that you were coming on. I've been catching up on some of your recent videos for the year. Don't look nervous. I've enjoyed them very much. Um, yeah, I was enjoying your like your best of last year, and I like it that you cover the other side as well. Things that you were less excited about for the year as
Yeah.
well.
Well, I try and give when I very first set out in doing film reviews, I did it with the intention of this is going to be my opinion. I'm going to be brutally honest while still being very kind because no matter what film is put out there, there's people that's worked on it.
Hmm.
They've put money, blood, sweat, and tears into it. So I don't believe in being cruel about a film, but I think it's fair to critique it. So I've never been paid to do a review, and even if I was paid, I would still give my totally honest review, and that's why I ended up talking about some of the films that maybe I didn't enjoy so much last year.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
it's fair as well. As you say, right now, obviously, when there is such a, I'm going to go with the word dearth, there is so much information that's out there that you could read. So much of it, you can sort of tell where there's influence there of you have to keep this production company sweet, or you have to make sure because this is owned by the same, by the people that produce your podcast or that oversee your content or so on. But I think you can really tell when someone is a truly independent voice because, as you say, you can not like something without being disrespectful about it. You can say
Yep.
this wasn't for me, or this is why this didn't work for me. It's not as if you're what's his name, John Barrowman in it, and going, and that was shite for everything. You
This
can
isn't. This wasn't. This is made for someone out there. Who knows who it could be for? Hashtag
stupid
ad.
bloody idiots, yeah. Yeah.
I mean, what's good about your stuff as well, Zara, I think, is it's got a very distinct visual style, which I think
Oh,
makes it stand
good.
out. I think so, yeah, because it's definitely obviously with the lights you got going in the background, the purple and the green, it makes you stop, but also like the text, the fonts, and just the way things are kind of like displayed as well. I think it comes across really well.
Thank you.
But yeah, so with Reet Scary, is that just a solo podcast? Is that right?
It is, yeah. So I I'm a perfectionist. So and I just hated the idea. I mean, I'm envious of you two, the fact that you do this podcast together. I felt like I couldn't continually depend on one person, and I thought that was quite unfair to expect someone to show up every week, whereas I can count on myself to show up every week and
Mhm.
do the recording. And then I have regular guests. So considering I've done 6 episodes now, I've had 2 episodes where other people have joined me. So trying
Hmm.
to get a few in the mix there.
How do you find solo podcasting and podcasting with someone? Do you prefer one side to it? Do you
Solo
find one side easier?
podcasting is difficult, man. Like
Yeah, I imagine. I can imagine.
you're essentially just talking to yourself or talking to a pretend audience. And I think I don't mind it so much because at the same time I started doing film reviews, I also started streaming on Twitch. And often when you start out there, you're just having to talk to yourself. You've got to play a game and talk to a pretend
Yeah.
audience to try and capture that one person that might join. And I'm also very used to live streaming on TikTok as well. And that's the same thing. You've kind of got to talk to yourself until people decide to join the live and start asking questions.
Mm.
So it takes some balls. I think it's quite obscure. I definitely prefer it when I've got someone to be able to bounce off and have a conversation
Mm.
because it's really boring having a conversation with myself sometimes.
I think that's like for the few things that we've ever done solo, each like when we've recorded some bonus episodes, I think Zara fall into the same thing as you. When I'm recording something on my own, then I'm far more critical of, oh, I fucked that up. I'm going to go
Yeah.
back and edit it, or I'm going to start that bit again, which is fine when you're doing audio, but not when you're doing a video element as well, because then you're chopping everywhere. Whereas I think the great, like the blessing we have, not just for the company that I get Ben here, but I think when it is more conversational, you can cover up for each other. If someone doesn't remember something, then the other person can fill while you look it
Yes.
up, or it makes the editing job a lot less
Mm.
strenuous as well. So
Yeah.
Oh
good on
yeah.
you getting out there and doing doing the solo
Thanks.
stuff.
Absolutely. Obviously, we'll put links to your social media and, of course, Reet Scary in the show notes as well. On Twitch, do you tend to do horror content, or is that more like just standard games that you play?
Yeah, I need to get back to it, to be fair. It was mostly horror content, so Dead by Daylight,
Mm.
Resident Evil, Outlast, which I hated in a
Yeah,
really good way.
it's
Like
not
it was
pleasant.
terrifying. No, not at all. But then I'm a massive Call of Duty nerd as well.
Oh.
So me and my sister like to go on around Christmas and kill all the Christmas noobs. Um,
Take that, Christmas noobs. Take that, you little 6-year-olds who just got a game for Christmas.
right, yeah.
Got to learn. They got to learn at some point, haven't they?
Yeah, they have,
They
and they're going
really
to
do.
learn against me.
And they'll learn against you.
Yeah.
Is that just standard Call of Duty or zombies? Bit of
I
both.
like zombies as well. Terrified playing zombies, but I
Oh
always give
yes,
it a good
horrible.
go.
The worst sound effects ever. I feel like the day I stopped playing that, I've had a much calmer life since I had to
Yes.
listen to that constantly. Awesome, awesome stuff. Okay, right. So before we get into today's film, first of all, off the top, I'm going to say I cannot believe we've not covered this film on this show before. It's absolutely insane that we haven't. I think when it
I
came out,
genuinely thought you had before I joined you.
I had to look back and search and be like, oh God, I don't want to just record a whole new episode and then realize we've done it already. So 2016, this film came out, and I think when it came out, um, I guess a lot of people weren't sure what kind of film it was going to be. Like, oh, okay, right, it might just be because the premise of it sounds like, oh, it might be one of those sort of like straight to video, straight to DVD type
It
things.
could be about the ins and outs of transport
It could be
infrastructure.
about the ins
Getting
and
it
outs of
right.
transport, exactly. Yeah, if you didn't watch
Someone
the
could be
trailer,
just dead late for work. You're gonna lose your
just
job
saw
if
the
you're on
title.
time. If you're late one more time.
Yeah, so I'm so glad we've got to do it because I genuinely think after watching this might be like the fourth time I've seen it now, which doesn't feel like a lot, but I guess it kind of is based on how. I mean, my God, I genuinely don't know, and I'm not just saying this to try and be some like macho, macho. Films never make me bloody cry. All right, what are you crying at a film for? Grow up. Um, my God, this film, I reckon every time choked me up. Every time I've had to like, oh God, this is
It's up there with
horrific.
the big. It's up there with the big three, like things that made you cry. Ben, I guess, someone of our generation, Optimus Prime, eating shit in the '80s when he died that time.
Mufasa.
Mufasa, I
Oh,
didn't care about him. I don't
Fallen to
agree with
death, yeah.
inherited wealth, Ben. That's like one less king in the world. Good.
eat the rich.
Yeah.
Eat that, Mufasa.
I
You
was like, yeah,
bastard.
Scar, you're being kept in an elephant graveyard
I was
with
very
your
upset by that.
hyenas.
I was very upset by that.
Get rid of them all.
What's the other one? Toy Story 3 when they're all going towards the incinerator.
Yeah, there's one for you. I've not seen
I
it.
just think, try and get out. Well, just all of them just assume, all of them just go, oh, we're dead then, are we? We'll just give up.
Give my
Don't
life,
do that,
Padme it.
toys.
Um,
What's
have
the
you
other
ever
one, Andy, in your
seen?
in your mind?
Have you ever seen a Monster Calls?
I
Oh
don't know if
my
I've ever seen a
No.
goodness.
Monster Calls.
Oh my god, I don't want to spoil it for you. And it's also, even though it's got
Animated
monster in
as
the
well?
title, not horror
Oh, that
content.
one. Yeah, I
I
recognize that
watched
one.
it. I watched it after watching what's the Andrew Garfield one where he's in an actual war?
Oh.
Hacksaw Ridge.
Yeah.
I watched it
Oh.
directly
Raxel
after
Hidge.
Hacksaw Ridge on a plane. Hacksaw Ridge, watched the horrors of war and was like, "This is a good film, but I'm fine." And then watched this one and literally sobbed next to my wife and a man that looked like but was not Jeremy Corbyn. Had a lovely little cry at this film. I
I love
recommend it.
your
Absolutely
memory of
heartbreaking.
this. Is there any films in particular, Zara, that get the old waterworks going?
Well, Andy just mentioned Andrew Garfield. He does something to me. What is it? Spider-Man No Way Home? The
Oh,
third
the last
one?
one. Yeah.
Oh yeah. When they all turn up,
Yeah, I was in floods of tears
all
in
the
the cinema.
Spider-Mans.
Absolute floods of tears, and it's because of Andrew Garfield. And then kind of staying along, I love Marvel films, and I have not been able to rewatch Guardians of the Galaxy 3.
Oh,
Oh,
I
what?
damn
Because
won't
you,
go near
James
it.
Gunn. You
what?
made me
Because of
cry
the
about
rocket
three
stuff.
times in the same film.
Is it the rocket stuff? Is it? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. When
The
he's all
rocket
like,
stuff and
oh
his
yeah.
little mates, and then
Oh,
him, and then
yeah. I cannot bring myself to rewatch it, even though I loved it. I'm not putting myself through that emotional turmoil again.
James Gunn is going to ruin us with Superman this
Superman,
year as
yeah.
well, I
Yeah.
imagine.
Crypto's gonna be in the line of fire or something, right? But yeah, I guess with this one, it's kind of like it's the father-daughter relationship type thing, and like we've all seen relationships like this in films where like a dad who perhaps is a little bit of an absent father who isn't great, but they kind of get the opportunity to be a better father,
He's
and
got the '80s movie bad dad thing, hasn't he? Where
oh hell
you're a
yeah,
bad dad because what are you doing? You're at work all the bloody time. Like
Yeah.
Arnold Schwarzenegger in Jingle All the Way.
And then you get to redeem yourself. Oh,
Yeah.
there's so many heroes in this film, man. I think that's the one thing that gets me is just like characters that perhaps you don't think are heroes, and they have that moment of being able to be. It's just not a traditional zombie film in a way, is it? It's kind of like the best zombie media is one that portrays human stories on the sort of zombie apocalypse backdrop, and this does it perfectly.
Yeah.
It's perfect. Okay.
I love a train ride as well. What a time.
I love a bloody train ride. Looks lovely. It looks lovely, doesn't it?
Look at that.
Beautiful over there.
Traveling across the country, less carbon footprint, and there's a whole zombie story going on.
There's a whole bloody zombie and a good zombie story as well. A good zombie story with maybe some unique elements to it as well, which I
Mm.
think is cool. Like it's not just like standard stuff. It's like these zombies, when it goes dark, they switch off, or
Yeah.
something like that. Uh,
They're like your calculator when you're a kid. Little solar panels on them as soon as it goes off.
they got little solar panels on their heads.
Calculator zombies.
Yeah.
Little calculator zombies. Yeah,
And
bless them.
I mean, I don't know if you guys have the trivia. I might have to try and pull this for this. Just off the top of it, they must have hired gymnasts or dancers for several parts in this film, right? Because
Yeah,
I
the
would assume
contortion
so.
work in this is incredible.
yeah, there's some serious contortion work going on, isn't there?
And
Yeah.
just throwing yourself downstairs or across
Yeah.
things or
I'm glad it doesn't go full like World War Z. I know it does a little bit at the end when they're all like grabbing onto the train. But I'm glad we don't get big old piles of zombie. Oh, I didn't mind World War Z, but I found that to be a little
turned
bit.
into like a zombies making like a big fist like bees might and then just
Yeah, yeah,
hunting
like
you.
Green Lantern shit going on.
Yeah. Big
Zara,
exclamation mark when they see you.
Zara, do you have a favorite zombie movie, or like that might be a difficult question? So a top three is
This
fine.
this would definitely be in my top three.
Yeah, I think yeah.
Shaun of the Dead, I would put in there,
Yep.
and Night of the Living Dead as well.
Mm-hmm.
Romero's original.
Romero's original, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, can't argue with any of those choices, Andy. Andy,
And
I feel
it's
like I should know this, Andy, but I'm gonna ask you anyway.
this spoilers for later, everybody. My first watching of this, but this is right up there immediately. So good. And as much as I can cast some dispersions on some of his other work, Zack Snyder's remake of Dawn of the Dead is actually really good.
Zack Snyder's remake of Dawn of the Dead is amazing.
Yeah, I think
I'm
that's
happy.
definitely possibly his best thing.
I'm gonna agree with you, Zara, on Night of the Living Dead, but I will also say I don't think Tom Savini's Night of the Living Dead's all that bad either. I think
No,
that's
No?
I'd agree.
the fact that you got Tony Todd in there as well. I think
Yeah.
is great, and I feel like it was the first one I saw. I think I saw that before I saw the original, so got a little bit of a soft spot for
I
it.
have to mention it if we brought it up, Ben, but rounding out my three, I don't think Evil Dead counts because they're not zombies, they're demons. Um,
Deadites.
I'm gonna go for, of course, old favorite in my house, Return of the Living Dead. I love it so much.
Oh yeah,
I love Return of the Living Dead.
Yeah.
good choice. It's a good choice. I think this is definitely in my top three. Shaun of the Dead's a good shout as well because I think it's nice to have some variation, isn't it, in the zombies, like with the comedy zombie thing. But I think 28 Days Later for me has always been the one. I think I'm genuinely judging that on which scared me the most because zombies
Mm.
are genuinely something that scares me because could bloody happen, couldn't it? Might happen. 28 Days Later is the one. Fast zombies, vomiting blood in your face, and it takes place in in the streets of London as well, which is scary enough. So that's the top three for me. Did I say three? Train to Busan, that one, and Shaun of the Dead.
Shaun of the Dead. That's
Yeah.
it.
There we
Roughly
go.
three each. We're fine.
Zack Snyder's Dawn of the Dead as well, though. I gotta give that kudos because scary, scares
Yeah.
me. Okay, right. Let's get into a tiny little bit of horror news before we do anything else. Welcome to Derry. There are going to be 3 seasons apparently of the It prequel series, 9-episode series, which is releasing in 2025. But there are going to be 3 series. The first one set in 1962, leading up to the events of It Chapter 1, and then after that we will get second series in 1935, going a little bit back in time, and the third series in 1908, going back and back and back and back. Does that mean we're going to get to see? Wait, is it Bill Skarsgård in this? Is he in this as well?
Yeah, he is.
He is. So we're
Yeah.
going to get to see him in his weird little human form that we saw in It Chapter 2, possibly. Yeah, maybe. Everybody
There you go.
excited for this?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I mean, who is carrying this? It's not Netflix because if
HBO.
oh, in that
HBO, I
case,
was
yeah,
gonna
that'll
say,
actually
yeah.
happen. Because if Netflix come and say, "Oh, we're going to do 3 series of this," I'll be like, "All right, really,
All right,
I
are
believe you
you?
thousands wouldn't, lads."
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I'm interested for this, and I think it makes sense that they're going back in time because obviously, the more
Yeah.
back in time you go, people were polite, and obviously, as established in the films, Pennywise's biggest weakness is negging. Like he's weak to it. It'll cut him down. You
Pennywise, you're
go
an
back
ugly
in,
prick.
if you go
Oh.
back into the olden days, and it's like, oh, you bloody egg, then they'll be like, oh, that doesn't
Wait,
get
what?
me.
In 1908, what are people going to be scared of? What's the scary things that people are going to be terrified of? Dysentery.
Dysentery. There'll
In
be a
human form.
there'll be
Well,
a there'll be a woman voting or being allowed to own property.
oh my
That
God,
will
yes,
that will
that's
scare them
much
in
better.
Ankles.
1908. Yeah,
Female ankles. Don't
Yeah.
show them. Yeah.
A person made entirely of female ankles
Yeah.
coming at you.
yeah.
Wow.
Well, if he's all a cosmic being, he could show people like TikTok in like 1908
Oh,
or whatever.
yes. I
Blow
love
their
that.
brains out.
He'd drop
Yeah.
dead.
The things that would put Victorian children into a coma. You could show them that. You could show what else could you show them? Give them a little sip of a Tango Ice Blast.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I reckon if you could take one of those back in time, just a can of Coke, actually, you'd be the emperor of the world.
You would be Emperor of the World. Anyway, I'm sure it'll be much more. I mean, it'll be just as entertaining as that, but it's based on the interludes of the book, apparently. It's been a long, long time since I read the book, but I guess there are like little bits in it, little fragments between chapters where they go. And Pennywise was knocking about back in these days. Was he not? How far back was he knocking about? Are we
There's a space
talking
turtle there.
since the beginning of time? Like terrorizing little cave people and stuff.
Is it every 27 years he comes back or something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, which seems like a long amount of time, but I'm already of the age where when someone says this was 27 years ago, I turn to dust immediately.
Yeah.
Immediately turn
What,
to
27 years ago, 1980?
Yeah, I was
That's
going to
Oh, yeah,
say, it sounds like
1980s.
the 80s.
Yeah.
No, it was 1990. Yeah.
I reckon and now the kids have got that unless there is some kind of extra politeness revolution. Maybe that's why the algorithms like TikTok and Instagram like tell you off if you say sex or kill or things like that. They're trying to prepare for a
Yeah.
Pennywise revival by softening people's language.
Because
'Cause I
Pennywise,
feel right now if he comes back roasted, finished in less than a
Yeah.
day.
yeah,
Year
he'll be-
sevens would have him.
Yeah. He wouldn't
Yeah.
even a kid Georgie's age. He'd be like,
Yeah.
"Hey Georgie," he'd be like, "Fuck off, pedo," and he'd just
Yeah.
wither away.
You're a waste man.
you're a waste man. Just get all the roadmen just absolutely
Yeah.
ruining it. Because it must be pretty jarring for Pennywise to turn up after 27 years of sleep. Because
He's missed so much. He's like Captain America, isn't he? He's got a little list. He's like, right, all the contemporary things people are going to be scared of because we saw in the original It Chapter 2, he had to have gone to the cinema to be aware of what the Wolfman was.
Yeah, he sat there
Oh,
on the
yeah.
back row. Yeah.
How do you do
What are you
that?
doing? I'm not getting you now. I'm researching for
This
later.
is the re-
Later.
This is the research section of my reign of terror.
Yeah, he actually comes to life every 26 years, but his first year is just really
Research.
getting in with the zeitgeist.
Well, he's
The
committed.
newspaper boy's like, who's ordered every newspaper to this train? Fair enough.
Anyway, the long and short of that is that we're all very excited for Welcome to Derry, season 1, season 2, and season 3. So, thank you. Um, what else we
in the
got?
news, Ben?
Oh well, off the bat of 28 Days Later, which you mentioned. Obviously, we've talked about 28 Years Later plenty on this show. Are you looking forward to that film, Zara? 28 Years Later.
Oh, I think it is my most anticipated film
Yeah.
for this year.
It's
Yeah,
gotta
that
be, isn't it? It's
trailer
gotta be
is
up there.
something else.
Yeah, the trailer with the bloody boots.
Yeah.
That's what I'm referring to
All
it
about the
from now
boots.
on.
I still, Ben, haven't got over my bone temple anxiety.
Yeah, we're a little bit worried about the second film being called The Bone Temple. I don't
Mm.
know, just feels a bit Mad Max.
I
Do
never thought I'd
you
live
know
in a
what I
world
mean?
where the 28 somethings later series would be in the colon subtitle
Yeah.
era.
Well, the
Yeah.
news I've
Makes me a
got
bit itchy.
is kind of related into that. So obviously neither Costa is directing The Bone Temple. Danny Boyle apparently is going to direct film three, so he's doing a nice little sandwich in this
Oh.
new trilogy. Um, who knows what that one will be called? If
Have
the
a
second one's
guess.
called The Bone
Go on, Ben. What
Temple.
would you call if right now Danny Boyle goes quick, Ben? Gotta get a post shot. What do you want to call the third one?
Rage, just rage, just rage.
28 years later, three colon rage, 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 rage.
Yeah, just rage, rage, rage. Call it rage, rage, rage. Just call it Aaron Taylor Johnson. He might not make it to film three. To be fair,
No.
might he? He might get killed off. Um, yeah. Well, apparently, Cillian Murphy won't appear until film two. I do have to pick your brains on this, Zara. Did you at any point think big, tall, scary, skinny, undead person was Cillian Murphy in that trailer?
I mean, it does look like him, but I think that is done with intention by Sony
Yeah.
to get people talking about it, and it worked. So there was a little bit of me that hoped it was Cillian Murphy. Um,
What a shame for him, though.
I
First of
know.
all, but have you seen the Empire cover as well? The illustrated Empire cover. He has got the same haircut.
Yeah, he has.
See, Andy, I was dead against it. I was like, looks nothing like him. But they've given him the old, what would you call it, undercut sort of um
Yeah, Peaky Blinders
Peaky
kind of.
Blinders
Yeah.
cut. Stick a bloody flat cap on him. I still don't reckon it looks like him, but I could be easily swayed by a haircut and a hat.
Could just be a nightmare that's happened. Like maybe that's how it ends. That's like your post-credit scene when that zombie sits up and you think it's him, and he wakes up in his own bed. He goes, "Bloody
Oh, it
hell!"
was all a dream.
Yeah. So he's not turning up till
He's in the
film.
hospital bed, and it goes back to the beginning. He's been in a
Yeah.
coma for 28 years.
he's, he's in the hospital bed, fully nude, still. Still don't get that. Just
28 years of hair.
put a little
People have been
blanket
giving
on
him
him.
undercuts this whole time.
Put a little blanket on him. Come on. Um, yeah. So Killian Murphy went up here. It's kind of annoying that we exist in a world of, everything being on the internet, because it would have been amazing to not know that Killian was in any of the films, and then for him to appear in film two,
Mm.
in whatever format he's going to appear as, would have been an amazing moment. But of
Yeah.
course,
It's nice to have a surprise sometimes. And also, like, even with things like, even when it's not confirmed by the sources, like, boundless speculation makes it impossible that, like, it was like when Game of Thrones was coming to an end, right? And it's like, when every combination of characters eventually winning the Game of Thrones has been guessed, then what surprise is there left? Just want a bit of shush sometimes.
yeah, just a little bit of shush would be nice. But it's noisy out there.
Yeah. At
Um,
least we have the thing with our talk of these things. At least ours are so ridiculous they will never be true.
yeah, we should really start making some decent, decent
I mean, if any
guesses.
of the things we predicted for Welcome to Derry come true now, then something's gone incredibly wrong.
I'd love that. Pennywise has got a cinema pass. He's going to every film. I've got to get my 10 films in for the month, for the
It's
year.
got to be worth it.
It's got to be worth
It's
it.
got to pay for itself.
It pays for itself, this stuff. Well,
Oh,
it
it was
doesn't
last
really, 'cause-
awake in 1985. I don't know about direct debits.
Oh my God, confusing. Okay, and the last piece of last piece of news we got is based on the wrestling horror movie Dark Match, which I think was shown at Fright Fest. Andy, for some reason we missed slash skipped out on this, but it's coming to Shudder on the 31st of January. It's the director of Wolf Cop, Lowell Dean, and it stars Chris Jericho, Stephen Ogg, Sarah Canning, Aisha Issa. A small-time wrestling company accepts a well-paying gig in a backwoods town, only to learn too late that the community is run by a mysterious cult leader with devious plans for their match. It
The
sounds,
Undertaker.
it sounds just like real wrestling. It doesn't sound like anything. Doesn't sound fictional in any way. Mysterious cult leader with some terrible accusations to his name. Who
What
knew?
would you do, Ben, if it was Mark Calloway himself? Turns out he was behind it all.
Oh, I'd love it, but we've already got Chris Jericho in it, which I was going to say is good
You
enough,
can have
but
two.
he's a bit of a knob these days as well. Um, I noticed, right, as a wrestling fan, I don't know, am I on my own here? Or Zara? Are you a fan? Not really? No? Okay,
No,
right,
not
I'll take the
really.
lead. Since wrestling is on
Lean in.
Netflix these days, WWE is on Netflix. There's a whole wrestling section on Netflix now, which is amazing.
Mm.
Fiction, documentary, everything. Anyway, I feel like with all the bravado that goes with wrestling, it's perfect for a horror movie. So I'm looking forward to this.
Yeah.
And it was filmed in Edmonton, Andy, where Video Store Kev, friend of the show and movie star now,
Yeah.
where he's from. So maybe he'll be in it. Maybe
Yeah.
maybe he'll pop up in
But
a tiny.
true wrestling style, like the baddies could be about to win, then Kev will turn up and like bash one of them with a chair.
Oh, I'd love it. I'd love it. Anyway, Shudder exclusive, 31st of January. It's on the list. Let's check it out. Has anyone else got a piece of horror news? Zara, your fingers on the pulse. Is there anything
Um,
recently?
the one that I keep talking about is the fact that Anaconda is being remade and it comes
Yeah.
out at Christmas this year. Because I have a bit of a weird love for the original, even though it's absolutely terrible. Like, it's still a huge snake. Like, there's
Yeah.
still
Yeah.
fun to be had with it.
And also absolutely belting like all-star like A-list cast.
Yeah, John Voight, J-Lo, Ice Cube. And then the remake, we've got Paul Rudd and Jack Black, which I
Yeah.
think is a brilliant kind of addition to give it that comedic spin that I think it needs
Yeah.
intentionally.
It's interesting for sure. Not anything I had on my bingo card
No.
at any point. What a remake of bloody Anaconda starring these guys. We do like the original. We've covered the original on the show, I guess fairly recently, right, Andy? In the last 12
Yeah.
months.
Last year or
Um,
so.
Yeah, it was always a film that I was kind of a little bit freaked out by when I was growing up.
Yeah.
Big old scary animatronic snake. I know he's not always animatronic. Sometimes he's dodgy CGI.
When he's getting exploded out of a chimney.
Yeah, and John Voight's dodgy Paraguayan accent. And one of the most iconic moments, I say iconic, it's not iconic at all. It's horrific. Horrible John Voight leer at Jennifer Lopez when she's like, trying to cool down.
Not pleasant.
This is my
The,
I find you
the only
attractive
things
face.
leering at at J-Lo more than John Voight in that film is anyone operating a camera in that film.
I remember
Or
I used
you
to be
watching it, you're like, oh, okay, you're making me the bad guy here.
so freaked out by the shot of him inside the snake. I was convinced that was the way I was going to die for years. I was like, I'm going to end up in an anaconda
You
somehow.
only just got over the whole quicksand thing from growing
I
up.
only
I was
just
about
got
to say quicksand. Yeah. Why was that a thing in the Bermuda
quicksand.
Triangle?
It was
Oh,
quicksand,
no.
Bermuda Triangle, rabies,
Yeah.
eaten by an anaconda. That was the four horsemen of the apocalypse.
I'm
Bearing in
with
mind,
you.
we all live in a country where literally none of those
None of
things exist.
Is there not an anaconda
Actually, no,
knocking
there
about
is
in it?
quicksand. You could go to Morecambe Bay and be winkle picking and then get slurped off, couldn't you, in the
Oh,
quicksand?
yeah, I've heard about this. This
Worst way
happens,
to
doesn't
go.
it? This
Yeah.
happens.
I live in the Midlands, though, so I was even safe from that.
You'll be fine, mate. You'll be absolutely fine. Okay, so next section of the show, what we've been watching, anything that you've seen in the last 7 days or so, can be a little bit further afield for you, Zara, because you're not on the show every week. Anything you'd recommend, anything you've enjoyed, anything you've not enjoyed. Zara, anything that you've seen recently?
I've watched a few things recently. Couple of couple of things that I didn't enjoy so much, but they weren't horrendous, so I think they'd still be worth people going and
Mhm.
checking out. The first one being The Well, which is on Shudder. It's got
Oh,
Lauren
is it on there
Lavera.
now?
Yeah, that was interesting. Was that at Fright Fest last year? Did you
Yeah.
guys
Fright
see
Fest
that?
Glasgow
Fright
last
Fest
year.
Glasgow, yeah, because we actually interviewed the director and Lauren Lavera, didn't we?
Yeah.
Managed to get a chat with them. Yeah, it's definitely. I think Andy, you enjoyed it more than I did, but
I quite
still.
enjoyed things I enjoyed about that film. Unintentionally very funny sometimes.
Yeah.
I liked the Robbie Williams energy of the guy that was like the jailer.
The guy.
Horrible
What
horror Robbie Williams.
was he dressed as? A Robbie Williams.
Yeah, he was like rock DJ Robbie Williams before he pulls his skin off. Just milling about down there. And if you make a noise in those cells, he'll come in and bash you.
How long is
And I
how
love
long
the painting.
how long is restoring this painting going to take? Because at one point she's like, it's going to take ages. Next point she's like, I'm nearly done.
Done. Yeah.
I'm done.
Yeah, when that woman goes, no, you absolutely must be finished by before the full moon. Because
Fine. Yeah, it's
guess
fine.
I'll work harder then.
Yeah, fair enough.
Fine.
Done.
I'll whack a bit of Tipex on there. It'll be fine. It'll be fine.
I wanted it to come out because it comes out a fully restored painting. I wanted it to be like that time in the news where that nun restored that picture of Jesus, and then he
Oh
looked
yeah, that
big
was
old smiley
outstanding.
face on it.
Or the Mr. Bean movie with
Yeah,
Whistler's
Yeah.
mother.
he does.
Yeah.
He does
Whistler.
such a good job. Tell you what, people give Mr. Bean stick when he puts his mind to something.
He goes for it.
He's done the business there. It's a great
Yeah.
caricature. I need to see what it looks like, Mr. Bean Whistler's mother. I would have loved it if she restored it and it was Vigo from Ghostbusters 2, just up there. Oh no, not a bloody number one. Yeah, that's great. That's great. What even happens that makes Whistler's mother's face come off? Sneezes.
He sneezes and then goes to dab it off, doesn't
Oh
he?
yeah. Wipes it off.
A lot of people will say that the comedy of Mr. Bean is simplistic and very
Yeah.
that's fantastic. Got
I
no
mean,
problems with that.
culturally crosses so many barriers. Probably our most prolific comedian.
Everyone loves Mr. Bean. Um, what were we talking about? The Well.
The Well.
Yeah.
So you weren't as fond of The Well, Zara.
No, I thought it had some great nods to Italian horror, which I really enjoyed. I thought it had some okay bits of gore. I think Lauren Lavera is lovely. As a person, she is absolutely lovely. The more things I watch her in, the less convinced I am that she's a good actor. Controversial opinion, like I think she's good in Terrifier films, but she's just starting to make me cringe a bit. And I don't know if it's the films that she's choosing to be in, or if that is just her.
What's
But
the
I
new
need to.
film coming out called like The Fetus?
The
Something like that?
Fetus that's coming up,
Yes,
right?
Is
with
this
Bill
like a horror
Moseley.
comedy or something like that?
Yeah,
Lauren Lavera is a weird one because I feel like her sort of age range, because obviously in Terrifier she was playing someone extremely young. Um, but then more and more of the roles I see her in, she's kind of like playing people who are kind of like I don't know, a lot older than I anticipated. But
yeah.
yeah, but yeah, to be fair, I've probably not seen her in enough. I've only seen her in The Well and the Terrifier movie, so I've not seen
Yeah.
her in anything else.
I
don't know
think
what
it
else
might
she's
be a
in.
good direction with The Fetus to do something that's horror comedy because I think she has got quite good timing in some of the funnier bits of this one. That she's very capable of being funny, and I think sometimes it takes the edge off it. I think some of the hardest things to sell in a horror, particularly when you're dealing with horror of a certain budget or when it is so over the top as like a Terrifier movie is, sometimes selling things straight is hard because it
Yeah.
is so over the top and ridiculous. So I think a horror comedy should suit her really well.
On
She's
that
got
note,
that campness.
Yeah.
yeah. On that note, are you a Terrifier fan though? Are you a Terrifier?
Oh,
Hey.
love the Terrifier films.
Okay. I don't
Absolutely
know.
love them.
I felt like there was gonna maybe be hater energy coming from you
Oh
then.
no, I've got a little Art the Clown up on my shelf.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, I went to the gala screening in London last
Oh,
year.
hell
In
yes.
fact, I've got the sick bag here.
Oh yes. Oh, see, that's a good
There you go.
thing to own, isn't it? I like how you've got it to hand as well, because
Yeah,
you never know.
I did steal a few of them.
Did you?
Yeah, they're dotted around.
Well,
So.
we've been looking for the person who nicked them because we.
Yeah, sorry. DI Conduit Turner, Metropolitan Police.
Finally, our
Damn
case
it.
closed, recorded.
We
got
always
it.
get our guy.
We've got it, guys.
Anything else you've seen, Zara? Anything else?
I watched. I've been to see Nosferatu twice, and I know you've done
Nice.
an episode on that. The other one that I watched was The Devil's Bath. That's
Oh,
also on
yeah.
Shudder. Have you seen that?
I've not seen it, but I've heard
No.
good things. It's people are like listing it as like one of their favorites of the year last year.
Really bleak, very slow burning. It's about a woman who has just gotten married. It's set in like medieval times, and she's really struggling to adapt to her husband's way of life. And she feels the need to do something violent and extreme to get out of this situation. And she does that. And I'm not going to say anything else that'll spoil it. But 4 minutes in, I paused it and went, right, I need a breather. I'm just going to walk away.
A 4 minutes in breather.
4 minutes. Yeah. And then it's very slow. And then
Yeah.
you get an amazing ending.
Okay. Add it to the list. The
Add it
Devil's
to that
Bath.
list. Yeah, I think it was already on the list, but let's do it. Let's do it.
If you were
Um,
the devil, Ben, what would you have in your bath?
Good question. Hot sauce.
Yeah, I bet
Um,
the Devil's Bath's ever so hot.
oh
Because
yeah, it'd be
otherwise,
one of those baths
comparative to
where
the surroundings he'd be in, he wouldn't notice it because hell's
no,
really hot anyway.
you know when you start getting in a bath and you're like, this is painfully hot, but I'm gonna
Yeah,
fully commit to it. Like
absolutely lobster yourself.
you lobster yourself. You almost when you get out, you're hot. Your core is hot for like at least 6 hours.
Sweating.
Sweating it out. It'll
Sweating while
solve
in water, that's what you've
Yeah.
achieved.
it'll solve any ailment that will. Feeling a little bit anything. Scalding hot bath. Burn yourself. Not third degree burns, but burn it out.
I think that was one of the last
Or
times I had a bath. I got back and I was feeling really fluey. I'd just been at a stag do and I hadn't drunk because I knew I was going to have to drive the next morning, but I was getting really ill. So then I went and I came and had a really hot bath. And Karen was like, but he's suffering because he's hanging. I'm going to leave him to it because whatever. And then she realized I hadn't got out of the bath for about an hour and 3/4. And then came in, what are you doing in there? And then had to realize I was sick when I was lying there. She's, hasn't your bath gone cold? And I was like, yeah, but I'm too weak. I can't get out. I'm genuinely really ill. She's like, oh no.
I can't get out.
Yeah, I was just lying there
And
in tepid water. That's the devil's bath. I was like,
that's where you live now.
yeah.
Also, the devil probably a little bit of matey. I reckon he'd have in there. Just a little bit.
Oh,
Matey bubble bath.
get the suds.
Get the
Yeah.
suds in there. Anything else, Sarah? Is that it? Is that what you've seen? Would you say? I'm not gonna ask you to list everything.
I was gonna say I've
sure there's a
watched
lot.
about 14 films in the last week.
Don't worry then. Let's move
Yeah, we'll
swiftly
leave it
on.
at those two.
Andy, have you seen anything?
Well, Ben, I've seen a couple of things. One, I caught up with you and watched The Last Straw.
Oh yes.
Yeah, thought it was all right. Like, I similar to your feelings, don't want to replicate them entirely. I think that the change of perspective was interesting. Maybe it could have worked a little bit better. I feel like the setup to The Last Straw was that it was going to be quite over the top and comedic, where actually it's a little bit bleak and shows that, the sadness of it is that no one has any appreciation or understanding of anyone else's perspective or problems in the film, and that's why it's going to be miserable and everything falls apart. But interesting. I think it's still worth a watch. It tries to do things a little differently, whether it works for you or not, will based on your mileage. And then
Yep.
after our discussion last week, and I think I messaged you at the time, I did watch last week The Coffee Table. That face, Sarah, is exactly the
to
face.
just straight up laugh.
Yeah.
The coffee
Yeah.
table, eh?
I think the first few minutes of the film, tell you what, I like this salesman's moxie. He's quite funny. From about 15 minutes into that film, oh no. And then I said, oh no, several more times with every interaction and everything that went on since. That, like, oh no should be what is written on the DVD box of that if you buy it, because that is what you will say and think, possibly forever after watching it.
I don't know what to say. I felt like that before. I felt like that afterwards, immediately afterwards. I still don't know what to say. I probably watched the first part I watched through my fingers, but the last part I pretty much had my whole face covered the whole time. I was like, can't watch.
Yeah.
I mean, let's not spoil it for anybody.
Yeah, I don't. This
but
is one of the ones that I don't want to spoil anything of. But it's so difficult though, because I would say it's one of the most. It's really well made. It's a shocking film. So in that sense, you do want to recommend it, but I think there are such things in it that could be incredibly distressing for a lot
yeah,
of people.
exactly, yeah.
But you can't really warn people
No.
without spoiling
Without
the
giving
film.
it away. Yeah.
Yeah. Like when you sometimes you get trigger warnings, like even at the start of films, even when people are posting on social media, like I'm going to talk about this. Here's a trigger warning. It's almost like you'd need to put a trigger warning in front of it, but at the same time, you don't want to just spoil it or tell someone that you're. I'm recommending a film where the key
When this happens.
where this happens. What are you doing watching stuff like that for? Well, that's not the point. The point is a terrible thing happens, and also like Ruth turning up at the worst time ever, all the time.
Wind it in, Ruth.
Just give it a rest. You got to knock that on the head immediately. He has.
Yeah.
He's too busy. Like going, I'll come back later.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, if there's one lesson you can take from things, this and Nosferatu within the same, talk to your wife is what you should do.
Talk to your wife. Tell your wife exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
To be fair though, how long did she go to the supermarket for?
She was ages
It's lucky
fannying
she was
around.
Half a
ages.
day.
Yeah.
She's gone for half a day.
That's the big shop, though. She doesn't just. If she'd said, "I'm just nipping out to M&S to get me bits," that'd be different. But she's gone for the big
There's
shop.
also something really horrible that happens in that film that isn't what you'd expect. She gives her phone to someone and just gets him to ring her husband out of the blue. Can you imagine if that happened to you? Someone just like
An
your phone rang and it was
unsolicited,
your significant
unscheduled phone call.
unscheduled phone call from someone. Like, first of all, you think it's your wife, so you go, all right. And then it's someone else, you go, excuse me? She didn't even go, it's me. She just went, well, she didn't even say who she was. She just went, oh, yeah, yeah. Like, you're supposed to recognize the voice. No, he did the right thing in hanging up.
The only thing that could have made that film more tense would have been, who do you think this is then?
Oh, no, no,
Don't make
no,
me
no,
guess.
Guess who?
no,
Yeah.
no. Guess who? Who do you think this is then? I'll give you three. No, no, don't do it.
I'll give you three guesses. I'll be really offended
Yeah.
if.
I'll be really offended if you can't. No. Only worse thing in that is when someone you work with, so maybe in a position of authority, slightly higher than you, says, "What's wrong with this then?" and shows you something. You go, I mean,
Look at this. What do you think's wrong with
Yeah.
it?
Give me
I
your feedback.
I quit on the spot. Quit on
You
the
think,
spot.
are you asking me for genuine advice, or is this something that I have done
Exactly.
that this is a prelude to me being bollocked for?
No, don't like that. Very not fair. Is that it, Andy? Is that what you see?
Yeah, that's it. That's it for
I've got a couple of
horror
things
related
I'll mention.
bits.
I've seen the George A. Romero's Resident Evil documentary. Obviously, I had Brandon Salisbury on the show talking about the documentary. You know, this is great. This is like a love letter, not just to the Resident Evil games, but also Romero as a filmmaker. It is kind of a shame that we didn't get to see any instance of a George A. Romero Resident Evil movie. It's kind of weird because obviously the games wouldn't have existed without the Romero films, and for him to be making a film of the game would have been kind of nuts. But it's pretty cool, and there's so many like deep cuts for Resident Evil fans to go. I can't believe they've included that. You know, from music choices to various types of artworks as well, and history. It's great. It's great for the Resident Evil fan. Great for completion. I think if you're a fan of Romero or zombie cinema in general, it's good to watch as well. I've been on it with the documentaries. I haven't quite finished it yet, but In Search of Darkness 1990 to 1994. Oh my God. These documentaries just make me I could watch them forever. If you said to me, we've made a documentary about every horror movie ever made from the beginning of time to now in the In Search of Darkness format, I'd stick it on and watch it. This is 6 hours, and I feel like I just want to keep stopping it because I go, I don't want to run out of it. It's great, and it's making my to watch list grow exponentially, and it's making me think this, Andy. We've got to cover that on the show. We've got to cover that on the show. We've got
Well,
to cover that on the show.
that's the dream, though, isn't it, Ben? Because obviously you're the one of the only couple of people that this can't help. Obviously, if you're watching In Search of Darkness, you think this infinite content, these in-depth discussions about all these movies. Obviously, for everyone except you, Ben, it's the Horror Hangout podcast. Hundreds upon hundreds of episodes that you can dive in on. You can get
Lasts
those deep
forever.
dives
I'm
and some
gonna
unique
be
takes on all that stuff.
If we had to cover every film in these documentaries, we would be geriatric, ancient. What episode would be on? Episode 4006.
Yeah.
We go,
I
welcome
mean, if we
to
do
the
want to
Horror
complete it, we'll
Hangout.
probably have to start doing 2 a week. But other than that,
2 a week. Oh, right, okay. Don't do that because you make me just feel like I can only fit a certain amount of episodes into my ever depleting life.
yeah, don't worry about it, Ben. I think by the time your body starts giving out, and there'll be all sorts of technology we can use to keep you going a bit longer.
What I'd like to
I,
do is while I'm on my last legs, I've got like a VR headset and I'm watching In Search of Darkness just over and over again because perhaps I'd have some sort of short-term memory loss as well. So it'd be like fresh, brand new every 12 hours.
Just
It'd be great. It'd be great.
in many ways, like blissful ignorance, but in other ways, like a horrible, like
pull the
dystopian
plug.
end to your
It's
life.
it's a great Black Mirror episode, is what it is.
Yeah.
Um,
Just watching a documentary about things you love again and again that you can never remember. It's real I have no mouth but must scream vibes.
I won't know which one I've seen or not. I go, I should really watch that one. And someone to go, here's a horror hangout episode of you talking about it this many years ago, and I go, I don't remember it. Stick the episode on as well and watch that.
Let's
Continue.
get to the film of the week, Ben.
Okay, so film of the week, which we've mentioned briefly, but now we're going to talk about it in depth. It is Train to Busan, which is a 2016 South Korean action horror film directed by Yeon Sang-ho, starring Gong Yoo, Jung Yu-mi, Ma Dong-seok. You'll recognize some. You recognize some of these faces. Anyone recognize anybody in this film? Gong Yoo
Yeah.
is in Squid Game.
Squid
Yeah, he's
Games.
the
Yeah.
recruiter, right? The guy who plays the red and blue flipping game with everybody.
Yeah. Ma Dong-seok, or I think Lee Dong-seok, he may be going by in anything American he appears in. I think he might be in. I feel like he's in a Marvel movie. I feel like he might be in Eternals or something like that. He is like South Korean hard man. He is the equivalent of Jason Statham. I want to say Vinnie Jones there for some reason. He's the equivalent of Vinnie Jones in South Korea. Jason Statham possibly, yeah, absolutely nails, and he's absolutely nails in this as well.
You are
Um,
correct, Ben. He is in the Eternals.
he is, yeah, thought so. So Train to Busan. While a zombie virus breaks out in South Korea, passengers struggle to survive on the train from Seoul to Busan. Seoul. How do you say it, Andy? You
So
live Seoul. You lived there as well, didn't you?
I did. I've been on not this exact train to Busan, but in the course of the film, they say we will not be stopping at Cheonan. It's where I
Yeah.
used to live. So I've been
Oh.
on that station
That's
where they
lovely,
used to
isn't it?
stop. And they don't stop at Daegu either. They go straight through it. I think it's where they have to change near Daegu because of the collapse. I used to take it from. I used to take the KTX
Man,
from Cheonan to Daegu
is it
most weeks.
realistic then? You'd say, apart from the
Yeah,
zombies.
those are, with the exception of the zombies, that is exactly what the trains are like.
Oh man, amazing. Well, give us some more soul tidbits
Give you
along the
some more
way.
insights as
Give us some more
we.
insights, yeah. Okay, so ratings wise, is 7.6 on IMDb. Rotten Tomatoes, 95% audience score, 89% critic score. Letterbox 4.0 out of 5. And some choice reviews. Mel says, DILFs in a zombie apocalypse is a top tier trope. 4.5 stars. Uh, I mean, I can't argue with that. Cinema Joe says, crazy how there hasn't been a better zombie movie since this film came out. It's almost like everyone saw this and just gave up. 4 stars. Gabby says, no words, just tears. 4.5 stars.
Fair enough.
That's 4 words, Gabby. And Michael James says, a gripping and entertaining zombie drama that's well crafted with top-notch production design, decent emotional core, and solid action thrills. 3.5 stars. Well, there we go. Everyone seems to love it. I mean, four out of 5 on Letterboxd is amazing. 95% audience score. Everyone loves this film. I've seen it a few times before. Zara, you've seen it multiple times?
Yeah, maybe 3 or 4 times.
Yeah. Andy,
Yeah.
this is your first time?
Yeah, first watching, and there is no reason that I haven't got around to it. It's just one of those that I didn't see when it came out, and I've had it on the watch list for ages. Putting it as an episode was a reason to just boost it to the top and get it watched, it is really unusual though, because as you've already said, Ben, lived in Korea, so I make a point of usually watching quite a few things that come out from there because I
Yeah.
enjoy things from that country because reminds me of an old home. In fact, when you were talking about 28 years later and 28 days later, while culturally I've lived in the UK for longer, lived in Korea longer than I've lived in London.
There we go. I thought you were going to say you lived in the Bone Temple longer than you
No,
lived I've lived in this Bone Temple for ages, and you know what? I'm sick of it. I'm absolutely sick of it. Oh, what? Are we going to build a new wall or make a little bit of fence? We're going to make a massive thing out of skulls. Human skulls. Sounds horrible. I don't think I want to live here anymore. Right, you're one
imagine
of
how
the
dusty
skulls
it's
now.
gonna get as well. All those rough edges.
Oh yeah, horrific. I don't. As I
Bone
said,
temple.
this is
Terrible
what I
to heat.
said from that trailer. I don't reckon it's human skulls. I reckon someone's just raided a B&M or a range at Halloween and got all
Yeah.
those plastic skulls that you'd usually get for like the garden or whatever else.
So
And
I
they've
need
just
to
made a big
scare off the
temple out of them.
infected. I'll build a bone temple.
I'll build an old bone temple. Okay, so I mean, obviously, Train to Busan. There's a lot of like quite cliche tropes in it, but I feel like it does everything so well that when you combine everything, it just makes this perfect, like high octane, action packed, emotionally, effective, great film. And I feel like it takes the sort of the zombie thing, and like gives it its own unique spin. So yeah, they are kind of like fast zombies. The transformation happens quite quickly, the infection happens quite quickly, and they're fast. But it adds these little tiny unique twists on the trope of zombies, which allows it to kind of happen in this small, sort of narrow environment. I've heard like Snowpiercer be discussed as like something similar, I guess, because that's a post-apocalyptic thing as well.
Also
Trying
trains.
to choreograph some of this action in these narrow spaces.
There are not many worse places you can get into a fight, I don't think, than have zombies after you then on a train.
Oh
Ever
no.
so narrow.
Well, no. Look at the only thing that's good about that is that you've only got to run in one direction, unless they come from both directions, which does happen. The thought of getting trapped in a train toilet as well with zombies trying to get you,
Yeah.
Yeah.
not a fan.
Train
Um,
toilets are unpleasant. Not on the KTX, they're a dream. But
are they? A
imagine if it
dream.
was here. Yeah, oh, the KTX, mate. Beautiful. What I tell you what, we'll
Top
talk
10
about
trains.
horrors in a
Top 10
moment, but
train toilets.
the
Top
the
10.
K the KTX, what an experience. Like the trains in the legendarily, the trains in Japan run very nicely on time. Lovely. And that's true. The Shinkansen is amazing. The KTX, sensible pricing structure, very reliable, a wonderful experience from start to finish. 10 out of 10 would recommend.
Are you sure this isn't an ad? Are you sure you don't have to
No.
put hashtag
I mean,
ad on
if
on
if the good
this?
folks
Sponsored.
if the good folks at KTX would like me to put Horror Hangout's name to the train riding experience you can have, then I would
What?
happily do it.
So are
But
we talking
yeah.
infinitely better than UK trains then? Because UK trains
Oh yeah,
obviously are a shit show.
it's just really nice. They run on time. The pricing is fairly well structured in terms of a not it's I think booking a train in the UK, as much as I would recommend you do it because too many cars on our roads, but um the pricing structure is like trying to win a game of Yu-Gi-Oh, right? And it's like, you've tried to book a train ticket, but unless you book it on every third Thursday and I didn't have my trap card placed down, the pricing is really unpredictable. The pricing is based on there is a if you're traveling here before work, there is a premium time. There is a like an on-peak and an off-peak time. It's just based on the distance you're going. So it's just based on the distance that you're traveling. The pricing is predictable. It's not that expensive. I was going across the country for not very much. It was a decade ago now, but it is, and it's good. You can book it online. You can cancel it and change your train until really late. It's not like, oh, I'm sorry, you didn't give us 8 days notice to change your ticket. You're not getting any of that money back. Really,
What does
really easy
KTX
to do.
stand for? Korean Train Express? Is that
Something
right?
along those lines. I'd have to look it up.
I want to go. I want to go on the
Oh,
Korean
you
Train
should.
Express. I've never been. Have you been to South Korea, Zara?
No, I haven't.
No,
No.
Yeah.
me
Tell
neither.
you what, friends, I think UK and everyone, we talk quite a lot about, oh, I'd like to go to Japan. If you're going as far as Japan, Korea, you can either take a little ferry off one of the coasts, a couple of hours on the ferry will get you to Korea, or another short flight. For the UK equivalent, it's like going to France. It's not a big flight.
Ah.
You're going that far, if you're going the way out to Asia for anything, spend some time in South Korea. It is such a fun country. Lots of exciting things happening there.
Horror Hangout.
They're
Tune in.
very nice to like, really, really friendly to like visitors and things like that as well. You have a great time.
Horror Hangout. Good for talking about horror movies, but also good for just Andy's travel tips. I
Get some
find.
travel tips. Yeah,
I love it. I love it though. This is what I like. This is what I like in real life for you, Andy. I feel like I just like to pick your brains about a certain thing and just let you go.
yeah.
I just
Set
enjoy
us off
listen. I just
there.
enjoy listening.
We tell you what, we ever do any Malaysian horror, I'll tell you a bit more about that, but that's another story for another
Oh,
time.
oh, very
But
nice.
Korea, highly recommend it.
Yeah. So Zara, you say this is in your top three zombie movies.
Yes.
For any reason in particular? I know I've just said some stuff about it, but
I think it's the combination of the brutality. So how aggressive these zombies are, how fast they move, which I love. Like
Mm.
instead of slow walking zombies, but it's the ending. It's the fact that this film has heart. Like normally, if I really love a film, I will play it to death over and over and over and over again. And I consider that one of these films, but I've only seen it three, four times, which is a very small amount for a film that I love. And it's because I have to be in the right frame of mind to put myself through this film. Am I in
Yeah.
the mood to cry today?
Yeah.
No, right, I'm not watching it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so effective, and like obviously the performances are great. The performance of the daughter as well, like that's one thing that always gets me. Like her,
Mm,
I mean, I'm not going to spoil exactly what happens, but like her sobs and her like desperation at the
She's really
end
good.
just like absolutely
yeah.
breaks my heart. Like the song she sings is heartbreaking, and this is the thing. Our main character, Seok Woo, is a workaholic, and he hasn't got much time for his family, but he's not a bad person. He's not like
Well, he's a hedge fund manager. He's a
But no, I mean, like when it comes down to it, like in these moments of absolute peril, in life or death situations, he's still willing to risk it all for people he doesn't
Mm,
know or people he's just met,
I
despite the
think
fact
as you
despite
realize,
the
I
fact he
think
just closed the door on a pregnant woman.
thing is,
But
as you bring up, that's just something he learns though, because I think what is so good, the emotional weight of this film for me comes from the fact that it goes across the whole spectrum of it. I think we see that people are imperfect, people can be very selfish, people can act irrationally or cruelly when they are threatened, when they're scared. There is that survival instinct, and there is a natural selfishness to wanting to survive in these situations, right? Which is why you hear things of like people climbing over each other to get out of a dangerous situation and so on. But then at the same time of this film, and it develops as we go on in some characters, or some people display it from the very, very beginning, and they all learn from each other and rub off on each other in different ways. Because there are some people who can be incredibly selfless and look out for other people, and it's certain things that we see in movies like this, we see in zombie fiction in other stories as well. People develop that sort of selflessness or that almost altruistic approach. And I think particularly in the current era, it's interesting to see these things like especially with what you see in reality television. And I was listening to um the rest is entertainment the other day, and it pointed out that the three biggest pieces of entertainment as this year ended were Squid Game was back on, Mr. Beast and the Beast games on Amazon Prime, which is incredibly manipulative and a bit of a social experiment. And then BBC has The Traitors running to start this year as well, which are all about programs about stitching each other up and screwing each
yeah.
other over at heart, right?
pitching each other up. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I think
It
it's
is
really nice to
fascinating,
see
though, isn't it?
these
Yeah.
things.
Because I think it's one of those things where you can say this is exactly how I'm going to react in these situations, but you literally would not know until you're in that situation. And it depends who's with you, doesn't it? Like if you are with a family member or someone you love, like are you willing to risk it all just to protect them? If you're on your own, are you literally like, I I need to live in order to then protect those people that I love? So all bets are off. Or are you suddenly willing to risk it all to save people that you've literally just met? It's kind of a crazy situation, but like there's so many there's like a vast cross section of characters in this. Does anybody have a particular favorite character in this? Someone that they just want to see succeed?
My favorite is Sue Ann, the little girl. So, and we've mentioned
Yeah.
her already. I think she's so sweet. She's got this father who's, I don't think he's uncaring. I think he's just apathetic. And the
Mm.
love that she still has for him throughout the film, like she's
Mm.
only what, 10? And I think
Hmm.
she's a fantastic actress as well. So she's
Yeah.
my favorite.
She just like needs him, doesn't she? That's the thing. I think
Yeah.
that's what's so heartbreaking about this is that throughout the whole film, she just needs him, and she needs him to be there for her.
Yeah.
And he isn't quite there for her how she wants him to be at the start. Like, but she's quite honest and open and honest, and she's communicating with him in a way which is saying, "I do need you, and I do want you to be here for me, but you're not."
Mm.
And then as time goes on, and he shows he can be, what makes it even worse when he gets
Yeah,
nibbled.
yeah. I mean, I'd love to say I'd come into this film with the energy of like the heroic Sang-ho. He's elbowing people, he's throwing people against ceilings. He is a selfless and good guy, but
Around
in
people against.
reality, I've definitely got the energy of Ingil, who's the nice old lady who just sits there for a while and just eventually has enough and opens the door and goes, oh, fuck it.
Yeah, fuck this. Yeah, I mean that's quite a complex story as well going on within this film, isn't it? Like what I like is that there are these interesting, complex stories all happening in these relationships, while everything's and the way they kind of like balance all of these characters in a way is great. Obviously you've got like a villain of sorts, I guess, who is the Kim Eui-sung, who is the sorry Yoon-suk, who is the business executive CEO guy. There's always a character like this in films like this, isn't he? He is like, who is he? So what? I'm trying to think of what kind of character we've had in films who's a bit like this. I was going to say, is he a bit like Billy Zane in Titanic, where he's just like
He's a bit Billy Zane in
women and
Titanic. He's
children
a bit.
first? Well, sorry lads.
He's like, oh, I've got this kid here. Let me through.
Oh yeah,
And,
yeah. I've
and
got a little kid here. This little Irish kid. That's definitely mine. Yeah, 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 yeah. This kid's mine. Yeah. What's that? I'm dressed in a tuxedo, and this kid's dressed in just like normal clothes. Nah, it's with me.
Nah,
What a bastard.
yeah,
I'm all she's
That
got.
he deserved that gob in the face. Not that I would have said no to Kate Winslet. Oh no, that's a different. That's a different discussion. Um,
um, yeah, and then I guess you've got thinking of other characters that share his me first energy, or like I guess turning people against each other with their fear. You've got Bad Lady from the Mist.
yeah, I was gonna say that. Bad Lady from the Mist. Oh my God. Literally shut up. Just that's the thing. Just like it's not the case that he's doing anything to survive. He's literally taking people who aren't in harm's way and putting them in harm's way so he can survive. And what when it happens once, I go, "What's that?" He's put the like conductor dude, whoever he is, in the way. Well, I'll let that off. But when he starts throwing characters that we care about in the way, I ain't having it. And the fact that he's right there at the end as well, just like
Yeah.
still scrabbling to survive. It's almost like he actually even fights the infection, doesn't he? It seems like he's so
Mm.
disbelieving that he's infected that it almost delays, and then suddenly he's like, "Oh, actually, now I've turned." Um,
Yeah. I mean, we'll explore him. Like, I think we do have, like, I think he becomes almost a pantomime villain as the film goes on. But then we do get towards the very end of his story a little bit of insight into what has made him tick. And maybe he isn't all bad because like he's done some terrible things as the film has progressed, but not for purely selfish reasons.
Sweatiest man of the movie as well. It's
You
constant.
would sweat though, it's ever so
You would
like
sweat. You would.
there's a
Oh,
there's a lot happening. It's quite a humid country.
Bit
So
moist.
yeah.
bit moist.
Mm.
I was knackered just like watching them when they're fighting their way through the carriage at one point. I was like, I'd be absolutely blowing.
And most people have got
Bloody
and
hell.
most people are wearing suits because it's a commuter
Yeah.
train.
Jesus. Okay.
I mean, look at the picture in your background, Ben. Bearing in mind they're running from a wrecked train, his shirt's still tucked in.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
He's obviously got one of those, but some of those buttons on your trousers, so you can attach it so your shirt doesn't come untucked. He would still pass for smart casual, and he's been in a
If
train
he
crash.
if he made it to the office, they'd be like, "All right, mate. Yeah, just had a little bit of
Train were delayed.
intense commute on the way.
Mm.
Yeah, yeah, yeah." Okay. So how do we start? So Seok Woo, he's a fund manager. He's a cynical workaholic, divorced father. His estranged daughter Suan wants to spend her birthday with her mother Na Young in Busan. So what happened? What happens? There's like a nanny as well, isn't there? Looking after the kid.
It's his
Um,
mom, isn't it?
his mum. Is that right?
The older lady that lives with, I
Is
think,
that
is
his
his
mum?
mom, right?
Okay.
Or
Yeah.
is,
So he has missed a singing recital, and he's watching it back on a video, and then he tries to palm, he tries to pass off. Yeah, I saw that. I saw that, and she's like, "How could you have seen it? You weren't there." And he goes, "Nah, no, I was there. I was peeking in for the thing." No, he saw it on a video, and poor Sue-Ann, she was singing the Aloha A, is that what you call it? Or a singing recital. Had a bit of stage fright. The people start laughing at her as well in the video. Fuming.
Rude.
Wrong
Rude.
uns.
Justice for Suan.
Also, not uncommon. Like I was teaching when I was in Korea, not a real teacher, like a English as a foreign language teacher.
That's a real
Um,
teacher.
yeah, but I'm not like their grammar teacher or like a qualified school teacher, as I mean. It is real teaching. You are right. But we used to do like singing recitals with the kids. Used to taught them all
Really?
sorts of songs. We obviously do your Christmas songs or anything like that. The only one I remember was the co-teacher Michelle had the kids do the the I think it's called Love, where they spell like L is for yeah,
Oh yeah.
they did that song
Oh,
ever so
yeah.
good. Little tiny dots. So they used to do a very sweet song, and then
Oh,
once a term we'd all get together in the assembly hall, and your young kids would get and they would do a little song or a dance.
Sounds
cute.
lovely. So this is realistic. Not saying
Yeah.
that kids singing at school wouldn't be realistic for whatever reason. Um, so yeah, he gets really guilty, and he's like,
All right, I will take you to
"I will
Busan.
take you to see your mum. I've decided. I'm going to do the right thing. I've decided." So yeah, this is where they go to board the KTX 101 at Seoul Station en
Before
route to
we get to
Busan.
this, though, Ben, we get a little cold
I have
open,
skipped
right? So
through,
we
yeah, no.
know what's coming, right?
Oh
Because
yeah,
we
of
saw
course.
a
Sorry.
van that comes through, and there's been some kind of industrial accident. They're hosing the vans off as they go to a
Yeah.
decontainment zone, and they're like, "Oh, just a little thing." And I think it's a farmer or a rural agricultural worker that basically says, "Oh, righto, last time that you said there was a little thing, you had made me cull all my animals. I'll be really annoyed with you if you do it, make me do a cull." And then he, while he's distracted looking for his phone, hits a deer, and he basically looks out of his phone and goes, "Oh, fuck's sake," and just drives off. And then we see zombie deer get back up.
Yes.
Yeah. This
So
is effective, isn't it? Because I guess the deer moves in a similar way to the humans do when they're.
yeah,
Do we know much else about the origin of this infection at all? I don't know about you guys, but I prefer it when we don't know much. I feel like it is kind of creepier, isn't it, when we just think it's just appeared overnight for some reason.
yeah. The only clue we get is that it is some kind of chemical leak or something from these biomedical facilities because our lead character here, he has had some kind of role in investment. And before we have the bit that you just mentioned, Ben, where they talk about the taking the trip to Busan, you've heard him on the phone saying, they've had a leak here, or there's rumors of a leak here. We should drop the
Mm.
stock on this one and get out of it. So he's quite well connected to people in
Mm.
business and in the know, and he knows that something's gone on
Yeah.
and has and is trying to distance himself from it financially, but he's not thinking about the
Physical.
other repercussions.
How do you
Yeah.
feel about the kind of world building that's going on in the background? 'Cause there's a lot of like, obviously like news reports and various things. People suddenly like sprinting out in the background, just legging it for some reason.
Yeah,
Things on fire, stuff like that. I mean, it's done quite. It kind of gives you the story without spoon feeding it to you in a way, doesn't it?
yeah. We
Which is
can see that
effective.
it's growing, and especially people look at it on their phones as we go through as well, because we kind of get these little drip feeds, things that you wouldn't have to pay attention to. It's not like the film ever stops and says, "Hey, you watch this news now." Quite often, it's while
You
other
watch the
things
bloody
are
news.
happening. Yeah, sometimes, and it happens more clumsily in films where it's like, "Oh, let's see if there's any exposition on the news on," and then
I hate that. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, not the exposition channel.
and it's and
Hit
it's
them in the
always
head.
and it's always the relevant news story to what happens. It's not like and the cats played with that ball of string all day. In other news, there's
Isn't it weird? Isn't it weird? I always find this weird that in pretty much every zombie film, most zombie films or most zombie media, zombies don't exist in that world. So when the undead in any form, whether it's like actual people rising from the grave or some sort of like infection spreading rapidly, it's never zombies. No one really knows what it is. Sometimes in these things, people have nicknames for what the zombies are. Some of them are
never
terrible.
zombies,
Never zombies, ghouls, all that stuff.
walkers.
Yeah.
Walkers, runners, things like that. It's weird, isn't it? And this film doesn't really do that. But like in most zombie media, there's always a moment where someone has to discover how to kill someone, or someone they know gets bitten, and then we have to watch them kind of not know what to do because they've never witnessed it before. This all happens so quickly that everybody's just learning like on the fly immediately. Like, right, okay, this is happening now. We need to get here to the next car, hide here, do this.
And you're right, no
It's
one pauses to explain, oh, if you get bitten, you must be infected. Like,
yeah,
I think we're just given your not only your characters, but your audience is given the credibility to understand you know what zombies are, we know what
yeah.
zombies are. And also, even if
Yeah.
zombies aren't a thing in your world, you know how infection works. Like you live in a country, rabies is a thing. People know about diseases and infections.
And we've all been on a train, in
Yeah.
London late at night when someone stumbles on worse for wear, screaming things, obscenities, If they're in need of help, we'll help them. But at this point, I ain't so sure if it's worth it. When young lady stumbles on and then turns. I mean, it doesn't happen immediately, does it? We do get like some quiet train journey time
Well,
for a
she's
little while,
like
don't
we
we?
get a couple, don't we? And I think it almost plays with our expectations a little bit because we see, you're right, we see everyone getting on the KTX and what a lovely time they're having. And you've got like your hosts, your guards, I guess, to put it in the UK parlance, but like, and you see
So
this
what do they
lady
call him in
stum
Seoul? Did you say
they're like
host?
they're like hosts. They're like yeah, like
They call you the
yeah,
host.
yeah, the real the real world of KTX travel. If you sit on your assigned seat, Ben, no one even checks your ticket. You just sit there and have a casual ride because they have a computer and they know the following seats are booked. And if there's someone sitting in a seat that's booked, it's probably going to be you in it. People just sit in their own seats. So
Bloody
the only
hell.
time anyone even asks to see your ticket is if you're sat in a not an in your not allocated seat.
Wait, is that common sense
Ah.
there, Andy? Is that what we're saying?
Yeah, it's honestly a lovely time. And they come down and it is like an airplane. They've got like beautiful uniforms. It's just such a nice time.
Yeah, beautiful uniforms, lovely, lovely
And
little
that's the
knickerskis.
experience they're having. But then we see a couple of people jump onto the train at the last minute. One, um, this lady who is um muttering to herself is clearly injured, and then other fellow. It's very sad. Choi Woo-ha, his name is just homeless man.
Yeah, homeless man. See, I know, again, I'm not skipping ahead, but like, I love how even characters like this guy get their like heroic
Yeah,
moments. I think is really good. Yeah, so he's obviously witnessed something, hasn't he? Because he's hiding in the toilet and he
and he's
says
saying everyone's dead.
everyone's dead. Yeah, they're all bloody dead. Um, so what other characters have we got? So as we said, Sang-hwa, it says blue collar worker, but hardest man in South Korea.
Hardest man in Korea.
Hardest man in South Korea with, he's like, whoa, what am I going to use to take on these zombies? My fists is
Yeah.
what I'm going to
Right,
use.
you've got a baseball bat, baseball kid. You have got like some more weapons you find. I just punch on with all the
I'm
zombies.
just punching. I'm punching my way out of there.
Yeah.
So he's got with his pregnant wife. I do like their dynamic. It is nice,
Yeah.
isn't it? To the
Mm.
point where, when characters like um sacrifice themselves, I'm always just like, don't do that.
Can you
Come
just be
on.
okay,
Can you just
actually?
be all right, for God's sake? I don't
Can
want to
we have
see
another
this.
film? Can the sequel to Train to Busan just be you raising your kid and having a good time?
Yeah. Um. So the COO guy who's just kind of out for himself. There's a high school baseball team. Um,
Along with a girl that's come along as their official like support, their cheerleaders.
cheerleader
Just
girlfriend
accept
Jin
it.
Hee. The elderly sisters In Gil and Jong Gil. Elderly sisters, are they? How did I miss
Yeah,
that?
Oh.
sisters. It's their
This is
relationship
sad as
together, and
well,
that's
isn't
why
it?
she like, and maybe she wants to be together with her towards the
Oh,
end.
yeah. And obviously, homeless dude. And yeah, the ill woman runs onto the train unnoticed. And she turns fairly quickly, attacks a train attendant. Um, it just all kicks off immediately, doesn't it? Oh, when it was a baseball team, um, what else have we seen a baseball team fighting off a creature? Jeepers Creepers 2? Were they a baseball team in that? Possibly.
Football team, I think.
Football team, same thing.
Yeah, an
Yeah,
American sport.
same thing. Um, but yeah, so she attacks the train attendant, and then this is where we see the quick acting nature of this infection firsthand. You know, people are turning immediately. People are contorting. People's eyes are milky. The old milky eyes is always scary in zombies stuff, isn't
Yeah.
it? The old milky eyeballs. Yeah, and it pretty much kicks off immediately. Where
I love the physical acting that we get here with just particularly when this first train attendant turns and she is like lying on the back and the way she contorts to start getting up like twitch, and I imagine the actor who plays her must be have some
Gymnast
fairly
or
intensive
something.
dance or gymnastics training to
Yeah.
her name because she twists in such and then moves in such like an uncanny way.
mm,
um Brilliant, brilliant, and they flip and turn around.
yeah,
um
ever so bendy.
Yeah, ever so bendy. It's like the fella from Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, that the googly man that chases them towards the end. But yeah,
Yeah,
and then literally as soon as I think that's how a wonderful part of this film is how quickly it escalates from the being one woman a bit poorly in a toilet cubicle to zombies just multiplying and multiplying. It's like a petri dish there, like with the
yeah.
bacteria just spreading and
Yeah.
spreading.
Yeah. And I love it's like you're never too far from disaster as well. There's so many moments in this film that do really well at like just showing, like a crowd of people just looking over there at something. What's going on? And then suddenly zombies. Or going down the escalator. Oh, it's lovely. It's pretty shit. It's real quiet around there. To suddenly a literal army of them
Yeah.
just there. The way things switch up is terrifying. And again, like we've discussed this on the show before as well, but horror movies that take place entirely in daylight as well, I think we probably don't get as much of them as we should
Very
because
rare. Yeah.
yeah, because you don't watch a film like this and think, it'll be scary in the nighttime. You literally are just terrified because I think it feels a little bit closer to home, doesn't it? Because most of the time, daylight feels safe, familiar. Nothing bad happens in the daylight, does it? Yes, it does. So yeah, exactly. Um, Okay, so what happens? Pretty much while this attack, everybody's like running down the train, locking the
Doesn't the
doors.
conductor run down? He's like, everyone just run, leg it.
Everybody just bloody run. All right, just run. Which
You
way?
see
There's only one way to go.
this way. You see most of the baseball team get got
Yeah,
really, apart from a couple.
most of them get got
Well, a
apart
few
from
of the guys. Sorry, there's a couple of the other boys as well that escape
yeah,
and they fight their way through.
escape. Managed to like shut some doors, and I think this is where like a lot of people start watching things on. Wait, no, I think before it kicks off, other people on a different carriage are watching the news, aren't they?
Yeah, and they're seeing like
Um,
violent outbreaks in various cities, like riots, effectively.
yeah. Um, So yeah, essentially the train just gets overrun with zombies. Only in a couple of carriages though. They do keep managing to like trap them in the carriage, shut those doors. I mean, how confident would you be that those doors would hold them? I was terrified the whole time.
Yeah, that
Um,
everything was going to break. But like this is where our main guy, so Gong Yoo, kind of shows that he has some skills with him as well. So he gets through, um, and he almost locks out our hero, a blue collar worker, and his wife. He shuts the
Yes.
door, but then thinks better of it. Is this where he gets shamed by his daughter a little bit, or he just thinks, oh,
yeah,
actually, I'm
because
not. I'm selfish, but I'm not a bad guy. He does open the door and let them through.
Sue-Ann was spoke to the guy before when she was trying to
Yeah,
use the toilet, wasn't she?
Yes. Yeah.
And bless her, she was like, "I know him," which I
yeah.
thought was cute because it's like she literally just spoke to him once.
And then he gets them through, but then like he shows he has some skills because he thinks to turn the door off automatic and put it onto manual so it will just stay closed rather than
Mm,
automatically opening, and then
yeah,
seals the door. And then he's the one that points out because at first, guys are holding the door closed, and then he sort of says to Sang-hwa, like, I don't think they know how to use it.
yeah. They don't know how to use the door. And yeah, he called him a chump. Calls calls he calls Suk Woo a chump, and then
Oh, is this when he's like,
daughter
I think
pretty
you owe
much
me an apology, don't
agrees.
you? Almost shutting me out in the bloody corridor there.
Nah, what did you say? You go, no, no, I didn't see you. I just saw zombies come in.
Oh,
I didn't actually see you. What about my pregnant wife?
UK society, the last thing you need to worry about is people saying sorry enough. They'll be fine.
I'm really sorry.
He could have been standing in the way of the door, and if it was a UK train, and the guy known as should would have said sorry because he
Mm.
had to slightly brush him to go past and shut the. He'd be like, "I'm so sorry. I'm so. Can I just
Let's get
get by
past.
you to stop us all dying?" But no, he's got no such problem. He doesn't want to apologize. He's like,
When
"Shan't
did
say sorry."
do they work out quite quickly that like the zombies, if you like, if they can't see you, then they don't keep attacking. So when they use
Yeah.
the
So a
Yeah.
lady like she very very smart. Literally just wet some newspaper. Got all the ingredients right there. Got a newspaper. Got a bottle of water, and she's able to seal the door.
yeah, which is good. There we go. We win.
If everyone could have
Uh,
stopped it then and sat down nicely, it'd have been fine.
it would have been
And
fine.
enjoyed the
Yeah,
rest of the ride. Yeah.
A little
chill
bit
out,
cramped,
guys.
maybe not in your allocated seat anymore. Maybe you've got to share. Someone's
Mm.
got to make sure their bag's not on the seat. But
How
you're all right,
so?
really.
The stressful thing with me is like Seok Woo keeps getting separated from Suan like all the time. Obviously, he gets separated when it all kicks off because he's like
Mm.
she was in the toilet, she's just washing her hands and drying them. Very well done. Um, but yeah, he keeps getting separated from there. I don't forgive me. Try and fill in the blanks for me. How did we get to that point where they ended up in the toilet, locked in the toilet, separated
That's
from the other
later
fellas?
after they stop at Daechon.
That's right. So they stop at Daecheon fairly soon, don't they? So
Yeah, but
there's a
before we
quarter.
get that, as they go along on the train, I think there is, we start to get the sort of heartbreaking moments. There's a little exchange after this argument where I think he's already asked like, "Oh, what's your dad do?" Oh, he's a fund man. It's when he wants to go and phone his contact to see what's going on, and Sanghua says, is that your dad? Yeah, is he your real dad? Yeah. What does he do? Oh, he's a fund manager." He goes, "Oh, he's a parasite then, effectively." And he's like, "Oh no," and don't say that because it's true. Because the little girl sort of knows that her dad can be quite selfish and only really think about himself already. Um, so when Sukwu is off making that call, he hears from one of his contacts that yes, these things going on. And I think it's also that moment as he's coming back, he phones his mom, and we get like a more heartfelt moment where basically here's his mom on the phone turning into a zombie, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bloody hell. Sorry, excuse me. What's wrong with you? Sorry, you're breaking up. Zombie. Zombie.
Oh,
Zombified.
chances of phone if you phone just 2 minutes later.
So I guess this kind of like shows that like, it's quite widespread at this point. If that's happening. Well, at least fully in the city, isn't it? And that explains that. Um,
Yeah, so they make an announcement that, and I guess this is where they see the magnitude of it. So they've had that phone call, but then they get an announcement on the train that they will not be stopping at my old stop, Cheonan Asan Station. They're not going to stop there, and they drive past. The train doesn't stop, but as they go through the station, you see people like
oh
who are
yeah.
obviously hoping to get the train, getting absolutely slaughtered at the train station.
Do you reckon a train is still turn up? There's a zombie outbreak. It is South Korea. I reckon it'll
Trains
still
are
be
quite
here.
reliable here.
Quite reliable. It'll be on time. Don't worry about it. And what station is it that they do eventually stop at?
They stop at Daechon, which is the stop after Cheonan. Um, and this is the plan, and they hear that basically you're going to be taken off the train. This is where the train's going to stop, and you'll be sorted out from there. Um, Sungwoo phones someone else and says, "Can I don't want to be quarantined." He says, "Look, everyone's going to be quarantined there. If you go to this place if you go to the East Square instead of the Central one, I'll get my guys to pick you up and sort you out and take you somewhere different." And so that's the plan. And again, he still has that selfishness there because even though he's had some conversations, like Sukwu has been, there's Sanghua and his partner and those kids that he doesn't mention to any of them that
Yeah. Again, this is a bit of a trope, isn't it? Like because in World War Z, Brad Pitt's character is like, "Ah, we'll get a helicopter to come and get you because you're a journalist. Like, we really need feet on the ground. We need a journalist to report on this. We'll come
who's
and
going to
get
write
you."
about this if not you?
Yeah, exactly. So again, that's a bit of a trope, where there's one of the characters who's got a bit of an out or has got like good contacts, so they get someone to come and help them out. I'd be screwed. I don't know anyone.
No,
The
I
fact this
don't.
guy's even taking the calls, right?
Yeah, don't know anyone. Who am I gonna ring? Sorry, you're on your own. Um, so yeah, but when they get there, it's pretty quiet at the station initially, isn't it?
Yeah, it's pretty quiet at first.
Yeah,
They're all just calmly getting off the train and making their way through.
yeah. Loads of them go down on the escalator. I can't remember what's happening, but the homeless guy like spots someone, didn't he?
He
Initially.
follows. Like because as they separate, so Suk-woo and his daughter, and he drags her off the other way, and she's like, "Oh, why aren't we telling anybody that we're going the other way?" It's like, forget it, we're just going this way. But the
Mm,
homeless guy sees them and he says, "I'm coming with you." And he
yeah,
feels a bit awkward. Like, oh, you can't come with me. But he also doesn't want to cause a scene and have other people hear him, so he just doesn't really say anything.
yeah. He's like, "Come on, mate. Yeah, come on, let's go." Um, yeah, and this is effective. Like when the escalator just sort of gets near the bottom and all the zombies are there, and they all just immediately turn around and start chasing
So
them.
well timed because as you see them come
It's
down, you
horrible,
just
isn't
see
it?
the back of like the military fatigues, and you just see, oh, this is a cordon that the military are holding, and then as you get low enough down to see them moving, and they're just joggling their heads about, and you're like, oh no,
Hell no.
all
I won't get
zombies,
out of
aren't you?
that. How does everyone get out of that? I'll be done. You ever try to run up an escalator the opposite way?
It's like being on the
You ever tried
gladiators.
walking up an escalator when when it's stopped?
Yeah.
Oh, so
Yeah.
weird.
What is
That's
all
the
that about?
worst thing ever.
Why
Yeah.
does it feel? I get on that and I go, my legs don't work.
Yeah. Neither does my brain right now.
The positives and negatives of those kind of escalators. The downside, trying to walk up one when it's stopped.
It says
Horrible, makes you
like,
feel weird. But the bonus is the heady heights. Ben and Zara, if you're ever at the airport, not even a stairs one, just a travelator for fast
Oh,
walking.
oh yeah.
Honestly, feel like you Sonic the bloody Hedgehog, don't you, off the end? Yeah.
Have you ever experienced someone get on that and just stop?
Oh,
They
and the
get on it
idiots
and just stop. And I
raging.
go, you're going slower now than you
than
would
if you
be
were
if you're
walking.
walking. What's wrong with
These
you?
are human speed boosters, not for you to not use your legs.
Yeah,
Yeah.
These
exactly.
are so you can go at speeds that you or I
Zoom.
could not even dream of.
Yeah.
The
They had
speedy.
those everywhere in Las Vegas, and everyone was doing the same thing, stopping. And I was like,
Oh, you know what I love even more? Stopping to a degree. I get it. There are infirm people in our society, Ben, and they're allowed a little bit of a stand if they want.
oh yeah,
When it's two people standing side by side,
no, 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 no. When it's
Unacceptable.
people walking free abreast and stopped on it, blocking me in, now I got to
No.
stop, and there's a little old lady next to me on the actual ground overtaking me,
yeah, just charge down
raging.
those things like I'm the Juggernaut, mate. Just get your head down.
I'm the juggernaut, mate. Just get on it and just go, get out of the way.
Yeah, I want a clear run so I can
Oh
proper
yeah.
Sonic off the edge
Oh,
of
it's
the end of
great.
that
It's
thing.
great because when you
Do a
think,
jump when you get to the end. Like,
clothesline someone off at the end. Um, so yeah, they all get attacked. What happens? They manage to like close them out at one point, but then the glass is breaking, and they're like, run, and they all
yeah,
come
so
piling out.
by some miracle, lots of people escape. The homeless guy saves selfish fund manager by putting his coat over the zombie's head that basically puts him into shutdown mode.
Yeah, yeah, that's good. It's genius. And we also think Suan's gonna get it at one point as well. Zombie's right
Yeah.
there, about to get her, but luckily, artist bloke in artist bloke in South Korea comes in with an
Yeah,
elbow.
Sang-hwa literally drops an elbow right in that zombie's face.
Yeah, yeah, have it. It's very
And the
satisfying.
action is so good in this. It's so well choreographed and it's so like chaotic and frantic.
Yeah,
But it's not, I mean, there are great horror films that I think are and great action films that I don't think are so tightly directed as this.
yeah.
Like bearing in mind the money and the scope of the directors involved, like what's his face is Nolan's Batman films have less well coordinated fights than this.
Oh yeah, definitely. Dodgy. Have you ever looked in the background of a Nolan Batman film when people are fighting?
What are they doing? Just waiting.
People don't know what they're doing. They're waiting. Exactly, they are waiting. It's my turn to fight Batman now. My turn.
They've got the little yellow indicator waiting for him to
Yep,
hit counter.
exactly. Um. So yeah, where do they go now? Just back onto they get onto a different train.
The the train driver has been accosted by bad bloke. The CEO says, "Hey, look, you should see if we can disconnect this train and we should take it to Busan." He has some insider information as well with his contacts,
Yeah.
and that Busan is still fine. So he is saying to him, "This is going to go wrong. Get
Oh,
on this
we
train
always
and get it
again
running."
we always get ant zombie films, don't we? We always get it's absolutely fine. Just cross that way. I've heard it's great over there. Better than usual. It's perfect. It never is. Has it ever been? I don't think it ever has been, has it? Let's get to the sea. Let's get to up north. It's always the same.
Somewhere it's cold, somewhere up
Somewhere it's
north.
cold, the zombies don't like it in the cold, it'll be fine. It never is. It's always worse. You know, it's always like
Busan, though, worst places to be at any time of year, Ben. Wonderful International Film Festival.
where?
Busan,
Oh, oh, you really should work for the South Korea like travel
tourist
board
board.
because
Yeah.
you're really
Honestly, a
selling it to them.
seaside city, great, great fish
Yeah,
markets,
I'll have a
great
look.
film festival at Busan. You'll have a lovely time.
You'll have a lovely time if you don't
And if you're
get got. Oh
combining
my
it with a
God, it
trip
looks
to Japan,
delightful. Look at
that's
this
where you take
place.
your ferry from.
Oh, it's lovely. Look at it. I want to get there as long as there aren't any zombies because I wouldn't cope.
Yeah,
Yeah, so
I've only seen zombies there in this film. Every time I've seen it in real life,
that's good.
delight.
That's what I need. Some real life experience. So yeah, they get back onto the train, don't they? Is that what happens? Did you say?
Yeah, they get well, they some of them successfully get back on the train.
Yeah,
We
not
do
everybody.
lose a few of our main characters here, so some of the wider members of the baseball team they get got as they're coming down the stairs, literally, like because
Yeah,
there are infected people coming from all over, so they get captured at this point. People get on the train at different points here. This is how we get separated,
that's how they get separated.
and
Yeah, so
some of
some
them
people.
get stuck in the toilets.
Oh God, what's happened? I got stuck in the toilet, unfortunately. That's how you avoid a ticket. That's how you avoid paying for a ticket, right, Andy? You've done that before?
How many of you are in that toilet? Loads.
How many people are in that toilet? There's a 10-year-old girl, an elderly woman, a homeless man, and a bit.
I know,
Excuse
a
me.
rightly story. I'll see you back at your seat.
Yeah, yeah. This is pretty horrific. I hate in moments like this as well, where everyone's trying to be quiet, and then one rogue zombie sees you. Stressful. There's always an eagle-eyed one, isn't there, that
Yeah.
sees you and comes at you. Hate it. Very stressful. Yeah. So they hide in the obviously the zombies spot all the people I just listed. They end up hiding in the toilet. And then we get the
Spacious toilets
dads.
by the sound of it. They must be one of those ones that you can
Very
get
spacious,
changed
yeah.
in.
And then we get the dads. Are we referring to them as the DILFs? Seeing as
Yeah.
who said
Yeah.
that? Mel in the letterbox reviews. I mean, it depends what you're into, doesn't it? Because there's two very different types of DILF here. We've got the strongest man in
Successful
South.
businessman,
Successful
lean,
businessman,
athletic,
lean, athletic, shirt always tucked in, and hardest
the
man,
hardest man.
the hardest man in South Korea. I'm glad he's on this train. If anything, he could have been anywhere else, but he's here. Um, yeah, and they essentially fight their way through to get to. Oh, he gets a phone call, doesn't he? And she's like, "Why haven't you answered your bloody phone?" Sorry, it wasn't the first thing on my list.
There's a
Where are
zombie
you?
apocalypse on
Yeah, where are you? I'm stuck in
in
a
the
toilet. So
toilet.
they fight their way through. What have we got? We've got businessman Dilf with his shield made out of like a bin lid. And
Yeah.
at one point, did you notice this bit? He was just hitting one of them in the feet.
Yeah,
It probably lingered on it for like a couple of seconds as well. Him just
bashing him in the
bashing this
feet.
zombie's feet. I feel like a zombie getting hit in the feet wouldn't react. Wouldn't go, oh.
It's like thing is like the zombies on this are never shown to have a particular weakness. It's not like
Yeah,
bashing their brains out or headshots. I think they're like Street Fighter characters, Ben. You whittle that life bar down to 0 and they're going down.
they'll be
So
gone.
if they're blocking you with everything else, then 100 shin kicks will knock you out as fast as 5 punches in the face.
Yeah, there's always someone doing that on Street Fighter, 100 shin kicks. Do something else.
Especially with Dalsim, other side of the bloody screen, mate.
What have we got the baseball kid Baseball kid. He's got it. Oh yeah, he has a moment as well. A moment of he sort of freezes up because his
Yeah, so in
friends.
there we have three challenge rooms for them to get through. Level one is where they just get to fight as a team of three, and they get it
Mm,
done. Level two, that's like a personal challenge because it's a baseball team, which is all his mates. So
yeah.
he's gonna hesitate fighting them.
Is that when it goes through the tunnel?
Yes, as they're in the middle of that fight, they go through the tunnel and they all get shut down.
They all get shut down. No one reacts quick enough though, do they? They pretty much wait for them to reactivate. I guess because they didn't know. So, one of them was fighting them with like he had like a tennis bag or something. Fucking hell! Come on! Put over their heads. And what's the third train car then? Is that where? Oh, the third train car is at the end of it. It's locked by all the other people.
No, the third train car, because that's on the way back, they have to do that one. They have to do the crawl over the top. But the third train car, level three, is where they have to go through on the tunnel. They use a distraction, like Solid
Oh
Snake
yeah,
style, throw the phone.
throw the phone.
Oh yeah.
They're very brave, though, aren't they? Because they all just sit in the seats while the zombies go past. I wouldn't want to do that. I'd be terrified.
When someone said to me that there's three cars full of zombies that you get to, impossible. Climb over the top. That's the only chance I've got.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, the
Phone.
crawling through the luggage space thing is great as well, but we won't be able to do it. In the UK, there's always a little divider all the time. You'd have to like,
Yeah, to
oh,
stop me doing exactly that.
it's to stop you doing exactly that. People before that were always doing that. They're
Oh,
always
people
crawling through the crawl space.
people love banter too much in this country. If you could crawl from one end to the other, there'd be people doing it.
Yeah, there would
You're on
be.
TikTok, Zara. How many times would that be a challenge?
If I were going to say it would be a challenge,
Yeah.
100%. Yeah.
You'd be going across doing like a Solid Snake voice as you were doing it, and that'd be it. You'd have to do like a TikTok, like a codec call,
I love
going,
it.
"I'm crawling across the top now."
That's scary as well, isn't it? In this, that scene is, and again, like despite the action, the tense scenes are very, very tense.
Mm.
Um, so yeah, they managed to get through those three train cars, and why did they end up going back?
Because they want to
And
get to the front where everyone is, and they've
yeah,
said to the people that are also in the front, um, "Tell you what, lads, we're back in a bit with these survivors, and then we'll all be together." But
yeah,
I can't just keep calling him the baddie. What's his name again? Who's the
COO guy, Yeon
yeah
Suk,
Young
Oh
Suk?
yeah, on sock.
Yeon Suk.
Young Suk
So
is there saying,
South
"Oh,
Korea's sweatiest man.
yeah. How do we know that they won't be infected when they get back? Let's tie the door closed with all this stuff, and absolutely stitch them up
Oh, it's horrific, isn't it? I'm fuming about this.
in a way that will actually endanger us all."
Yeah, and everyone goes for it as well. This is like mob mentality, because the amount of times, oh yeah, he just looks at everyone with his sweaty, terrified eyes, and everyone just goes, "Yeah,
And
he's
it
right.
says,
Actually, he might be
"Listen,
infected." Even
I'm
though
Young
the
Suk. They
rules of
might be
infection.
infected. I am that horrible woman from Midnight Mass turning everyone against people.
Oh yeah, we're getting some great references here. The Mist Woman, Midnight Mass person. Who else? Bunch
Billy
of ones.
Zane, not
Billy
the actor though.
Titanic, yeah.
Titanic, yeah.
Billy Zane in
Titanic, Billy Zane.
Titanic. He's the worst one. I hate him. He survives as well. I was always fuming about that. He survives. He's there in the end when Kate Winslet's all huddled up, hiding. She survived. She's gone through it. Billy Zane's still there.
The only bit that's how they should have got the sequel to Titanic going. If they want Titanic 2 to have, the bit where Kate Winslet drops the Chaos Emerald into the sea at the end. If he had been on a little dinghy underneath and he just catches it and goes ha ha,
He's
and just
fine
flies off
anyway.
into the sunset.
He's like, I hadn't even paid that off in installments. He's been
Yeah,
paying it off all
because
this time,
I
100
find like
years.
what happens is if he gets it and then like he's obviously old makeup Billy Zane and he puts the Heart of the Ocean on and it restores him to youth.
Oh my God, I'd watch this. I'd watch this, Andy. And then what happens?
Billy's Billy Zane
And
gets
then
the Heart of
what?
the Ocean. Well, I mean, he's already got the powers of the Phantom, but I guess he's like a bad version in this. Um, so yeah, I would
Oh,
imagine that Billy Zane would use his eternal youth that the Heart of the Ocean gives him for evil, and the only thing you could do in Titanic 2 to get him would be to somehow bring Jack back. Jack's back is what you'd
Jack's
say in
back.
yeah.
I do like this take on Titanic. I know we're going a bit off of the beaten track here, but I love this take on Titanic where it's just like Kate Winslet is obviously her character has lived a whole life up to like 90 years old, but all she really cares about is those like 4 days where she was shagging Leonardo DiCaprio. That's all she cares about. She's
And
had a
also,
husband since then.
well, she
She's
has
lived a
because she
life.
aren't a family there, but she's like, oh, I'll tell you what, I really want to tell you about this bloke I hooked up with before I met your
This
dad.
this bloke I shagged in a car. Whose car? Don't even know. Don't know. Doesn't
We'll
matter.
talk
And he
about
was
Titanic
homeless.
another time. What I'm going to leave you on before we get back to the
Yeah,
film,
please.
Ben, is do you know there was a real life mummy on the Titanic, and the sarcophagus is really at the bottom of the ocean on that boat?
Is that a fact?
Fact.
This is the plot of Titanic too.
There was a mummy in a sarcophagus on the Titanic, which is at the bottom of the ocean.
Where was it going? To New York.
To New York. A collector had bought it from a museum in England, and they were sending it over there. The mummy's curse.
Oh, you'd be gutted if you're that collector, wouldn't you?
But I think the mummy's ghost might still be in London, so it hasn't got that message. There is a ghost train station, which used to be the British Museum used to have a train station near it, and it's a ghost station that like the trains no longer stop there. I think it might have been sealed up now, but yeah, apparently haunted by the ghost of
You
that
see what
mummy whose body is at the bottom of the Atlantic.
you see what I mean, Zara, when I say I could just literally just listen to Andy telling me these factoids. Or I don't even care about this podcast. I turn up every week literally to listen to these
Some
anecdotes.
stupid shit that I happen to know.
Stupid shit. I'm not sure about that. Okay, but do you think the COO is too much of a douchebag in this? I feel like they might dial it up a little bit too much. Not only is he like willing to see people die for it, I can't believe he's still there right at the end as well. I feel like he should have been slurped off ages ago. Or do you think
Yeah.
he's a good villain? Do you think this film needs a villain like that? What do you think, Andy?
Oh,
Or
you guys are you muted though.
are the undead?
I think there needs to be a bit of peril from someone who isn't a zombie. So I think you
Okay,
definitely
okay.
need a villain character. Um, but he should have been offed way before.
Yeah.
Way, way before. We've had enough of him by that point.
He
Yeah.
definitely outstays his welcome, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Like, I guess it's kind of the point, and we've already mentioned Anaconda. Someone like John Voight's character, he's one who just keeps coming back, doesn't he? Even after he gets
Yeah.
like half digested, he turns up. He is a bit of a John Voight character, this COO.
Mm.
Just a little bit of sweaty, bloated, horrible, greasy-haired. Sorry, I'm having a go at this guy. I feel a bit out of order.
um,
Um,
yeah, you're right. Like, I guess they have to amp up his villainy, and like, I think what we do get here is, yeah, so he gets everyone to seal the doors, and it's not necessarily him. I think he's a good villain in the sense that he would not be capable of standing against everyone by themselves.
mhm.
He gets a lot of authority, and he gets a lot back, but he talks to like the conductor on the train and says like, "Oh, don't you think they might be infected and we wouldn't be safe?" Don't And he sort of leans into his authority to then get other people on board. He lives into other people's fears.
Mm.
So again, it's all his things that he's afraid of, but he
Yeah.
gets his way by basically very tactically manipulating everyone else's fears till they agree that those people are there. And then as our heroes get there and they can't open the door and they smash their way through, um, he's even got to the point where you've got this thing and there's obviously a little girl there crying and there's a father and there's these heroes and there's an old lady
Yeah, because he
who are
even looks
clearly
at
not
he even
infected
looks at
and
Suan, doesn't he? He looks directly
looks
at
her in
her.
the eye. Yeah, as they try, and the guy has got his arm stuck in the one. He's trying desperately to fight there, and there are people that are with him trying to hold the door closed because he's managed to work them up into such a state of
Yeah.
fear about their about that they might be infected. They're monsters.
I mean, there are loads of like actual real life parallels going on, even in just this like little scene, isn't there? Just like the othering of the potentially infected people, the way someone in a particular who looks like they're in a position of power as a COO, even though that doesn't really isn't relevant to um this particular instance, managing to convince others, to essentially go around to his way of thinking, just for out of fear of just um getting it wrong, I guess. Yeah. Um, but yeah, this is where artist man in South Korea gets killed. Quite a nice way that he actually turns, which is cool, is that he is literally fighting them off, holding them back, and obviously he's getting bitten at this time, and he just starts to turn. So rather than him like getting killed essentially and then turning, he's essentially like alive but turns, which is interesting. That happens more than once in this film as well, um,
Yeah.
and I kind of like it. I think it's good.
Would you two like to have seen him again as a zombie, or do you kind of glad that he just disappears and we don't see him?
I think the last we see of him is when he's telling his wife the name that he's chosen for their unborn son. Is that
Oh
right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I feel like that's a nice point to end it one. I wouldn't then want to see him as a zombie.
No.
That's a nice bit of
Yeah.
closure for him.
Yeah, because we see his eyes turning, but then ultimately we never see him like he doesn't like Robert Carlyle it and become the head zombie. He just gets
The
washed
king of
over. He just
zombies.
ultimately gets washed over, right?
Yeah.
There's always a again. This film doesn't really do it, but there is always like a not always, but sometimes a like a boss zombie, isn't there? Essentially, we're just like, oh, for God's sake, not that one again. Big old scary one. Um, who have we got? Army of the Dead. There's a oh,
The
there's a
big
big
daddy
scary
guy, the
one.
petrol station man.
The petrol station one, yeah. Um, I think the baby in the Dawn of the Dead remake is the boss baby. Is the boss
The
zombie?
boss baby.
The boss baby zombie. Yeah, yeah, that's the boss one.
Um,
Um,
in that other piece as well, though, they almost all escape. It's a close call for the homeless guy steps on that tinny just before they escape, but
oh
they all
yeah,
do
someone
make it through.
steps on that tinny. Someone left an empty can of Fanta on the ground. First of all, littering. Second of all, yeah, stood on it at the
Um,
wrong.
one of the two sisters that was separated, they get so close to being reunited, and they can't get her through in time, so she just
Well,
sacrifices
it
it.
almost seems like is it? It almost seems like she gives up and says, "Too late. I'm happy to die," because she thought her sister was dead. Right? Is that what we're
Yeah.
thinking?
Yeah,
And then she spots her sister in that last moment, but it's too late.
oh,
So she goes, "Oh, actually, I've got something to live for. Wait up.
she's
Too late."
park-entered it, hasn't she? She's like,
Yeah, I mean, again, it's super sad, like the way these things sort of unfold.
and that leads to the bit. So they're all together, they fight their way through, and he just like he knocks the COO down and says, "Oh, you're mad." And then he again, even now they've broken in there, he leads into those fears of those other people, and
He's bloody
they basically,
infected.
yeah, they say
Yeah.
like, "You're infected." They all start shouting at them to leave, um, and
It's like, oh
they,
yeah, so we've seen so many zombies articulating themselves in this way. Do my eyes look milky to you? That's what I'd say.
yeah. Well, I've got milky eyes, mate. You stick me in the vestibule, but not a second earlier.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean it is pretty horrible because we lost two people because of it, and then the sister, man, she spots her sister like in the
In the crowd, yeah.
Yeah, she
like,
looks like
oh.
quite of all the zombies, the friendliest one.
Yeah.
She's just like
She's just like, all right, how are
all the
you?
other zombies. Bite your head off as soon
All
as
the
looking
other
at you. She's just
zombies.
looking kind of whimsically at the door.
Just chill out. She just ain't got it in her, has she? She's just a very tragic zombie. The sister just opens the door,
Yeah,
right?
so all of our heroes go and lock themselves
Yeah, 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 yeah.
in the
The
vestibule
little
because they've been
compartment,
set to the
yeah.
next bit. Yeah, Jin-hee, who wasn't part of the rescue party, she just joins the others and says, "Well,
Oh yeah, so
I'll."
she was with that group of survivors because she was trying to get them to let them in, wasn't she? She was.
Yeah,
Oh
she was
yeah,
trying to get
'cause
them to let them in.
it all started off. She went, "My friend from the carriage is on his way," and they was went, "Nah,
No.
nah, we ain't having any others in this place." Um,
So as soon as she's in, that's when the sister sees her sister in a zombie, and she's like, "Well, I want
well,
us
I've
to
had a
be
good run.
together.
Together.
Yeah, I've had a good run. Sometimes you just feel like that, don't you? You know, like if you're so
Letting the
close, if
zombie hordes descend. Yeah, I feel
yeah,
like that every day, yeah.
you know, sometimes you're just trying to do something, and it's, oh, just fuck it. Like if you're really trying to do some
Just fuck
painting,
it.
and like you know, you're trying to get ever so careful, and then like little spats up like paint and go, oh fuck it, just whack it everywhere.
Wey!
Or like sometimes when you're trying to put the real life horrors, when you've got the doona and you're trying to put the cover over it,
What's the doona?
um,
Duvet.
yeah, the duvet, and you're trying to put your duvet cover on, and it's all creased, not getting to the corner, you just want to throw it down the stairs, don't you? Just
I'm not very good at that. What is everyone's method for that? Because my method is always to get in it. I'm in it.
No.
I'm in there putting the corners in. I'm living in the duvet and then I get out, obviously. Is that your method, Zara? No?
You turn the duvet cover inside out
Oh, yes,
and
yes. That's a bit complicated.
have your duvet laid out, your actual duvet, and then put your hands inside the duvet. Don't get in it. Just put your hands in
It's quite
and
nice when
grab the
you're in there, though.
corners. Yeah, but then you get like flappy and frustrated and you can't see what you're doing.
Yeah, maybe.
If an
And
enemy
then
came into your house and you were in that duvet, then they could just punch you in the face and you wouldn't know what was
push you
happening.
over. But
Yeah,
then once you've got hold of
it'll
the
be comfy though.
corners of the duvet, then you grab the actual duvet and you just shake it.
Ah,
I don't know. I haven't done the inside out technique. I'm going to try that, Zara. I just get the
Easy.
corners, get them in there, shake it down.
Yep.
it also is, to be fair, my version works as well, and
Yeah.
it's maybe a little bit
Maybe
more
that's a
fun.
lesson, much like Train to Busan has taught us, and this little aside. There's different ways to do things, and all of them are all right.
Andy, you're so.
That's the
There's,
lesson.
That's the
yeah,
lesson. We're the
diversity, the
same.
rich tapestry of life. Everyone just do your
Yeah.
best.
Everyone just do your best, but not if you're an evil COO who.
Is best is bad for everyone.
Yeah, you don't care about anyone, does he?
And he doesn't have the decency because then obviously after the sister goes, fuck it, I'll open this door then, shall I? And all the zombies come piling in.
Mm.
He doesn't even have the decency to eat shit and die then. Him and
No,
the train conductor hide in the toilet.
he is like a cockroach in this film. He is just constantly surviving the
Yeah.
shittiest scenarios. Although I will say, and this is a trope that we don't quite get it in this, but it's a trope I like, and I don't know how you guys feel about this, but when someone in like a zombie apocalypse or a zombie movie seems to be definitely dead, you're like they're 100% dead without a shadow of a doubt. But then
Yep.
later on they turn up and they've somehow survived this moment. Examples I can think of, I think they're mainly in the Walking Dead comic. I think when Tyrese at one point gets locked in a gymnasium or something with zombies by a bad guy, and we think, oh, he's definitely
Oh
dead.
yeah, and then they realize, oh yeah, you never died, and they go, and he killed them all with a
He
hammer.
killed them all with a hammer. Yeah, and I think maybe in the show we get Glenn as well. At one point, it looks like he gets
Is that
piled
with the
upon by
bins?
zombies. What was
Yeah.
that?
Is he on like a bin or
Yeah,
something?
He was
yeah,
hiding in a
yeah.
bin the whole time.
He was on a bin the
Yeah.
whole time. Oh, I was on a bin the whole time, and you go, yeah. I quite like that trope. I know some people probably
Yeah.
don't, but I quite like it because I think it always does that thing where you're like, well, unless I see them actually get bitten and we see like their flesh getting torn out of their neck or
Mm.
something, I
They
don't
could
believe
be
they're dead.
alive.
You can hold out the hope that they can die and then get their head beaten
Bashed.
to a pulp by by Jeffrey Dean Morgan.
Lucille.
By Lucille, yeah, by Jeffrey Dean Morgan constantly leaning back.
Jeffrey Dean Morgan custards you years
Oh,
later.
it's horrible. Do you know what? Still gets me. Saw a clip
Yeah.
of it recently. His eye, when his eye's popping out, and Negan even takes a piss. Basically said, "Look at your eyes, disgusting." I hate that.
I
I'm
wanted
so
to say
glad.
exactly. I've not seen it, so I gave up on that after two
I'm
series.
so
But
glad I stopped watching it before we tried to redeem Negan because I hated him.
I liked him when he gets redeemed in the comics. Like I think he
Yeah, even in the
becomes.
comics, I was a bit like, I get it.
I
But there's a
liked
bit of
him.
a time jump, right?
I gave up on the program, but I read the
Zara,
comic till perilously close to the end, and
yeah.
Negan actually turned me around in the end. It's like,
Oh.
oh, Rick doesn't half go on a bit.
Turn it in, Rick. Zara, did you watch all of The Walking Dead? Did you get all the way through it?
I think I missed the last series.
It's weird how no one did. I mean, I'm sure some
Yeah.
people did, but no one did. What about spin-offs?
No.
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 Me neither. Me neither.
Not even cooking with the Walking. There are a lot of
Cooking with The
spin-offs.
Walking Dead. Do you know those two characters appeared in one episode of Walking Dead? Here's an whole series about them. Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Look, one of who's the farm man that they visit early on?
Oh, Dale? Is that the
Dale. No,
farm? No,
he's the
Dale's the
campervan
man.
man.
Who is the farmman? He's dead though.
I know he's dead, but you could have an episode about like
Her,
even though you don't remember his name, you could have like
Herschel.
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 You
Yeah.
could have like a claymation about his chickens or something like that.
Yeah. He's just trying to give all the worst possible characters as well, like some sort of redeeming backstory. Oh, you know the
What's
governor.
Michael Rooker been up to since he
Oh yeah.
sawed his end off?
Who knows? Who bloody knows? The point we're making is Yeon Suk survives this.
Yeah, the little cockroach
They
man
hide. They hide
himself.
in the bathroom. Um, and yeah, and then the train stops because the track is blocked at East
They get to
Daegu Station.
Daegu,
Yep.
the location of the 2011 World Athletics Championships. Wonderful city, good times in
Good
Daegu.
times. Were you there?
Yeah, we went to Daegu all the time. Karen used to live in
Did you
Daegu.
compete?
I didn't compete in the World Athletics Championships, but
Damn.
places I will recommend in Daegu if they're still there over a decade later. Pizza is very good. Go and put your orders in. You can have any shape of pizza you want. You want a star-shaped pizza, Ben? You can have
Any
one.
shape of pizza I want.
Shape.
Yeah, all the different shapes of pizza,
I want a
and you
pizza the
basically
shape of
get a little
Zimbabwe,
form. You
please.
get a little form when you go in. You tick
A
the
little
things you
fork.
want, and then you hand over the ticket. They go and make the pizza.
This is great.
Yeah,
Any
Daegu. Uh,
what kind of shaped pizza did you have when you went there, then, Andy?
Mix it up, Ben. I went there lots. Sometimes a
Octagon.
square or hexagon pizza. That's all right.
Any shape you want.
Also, Daegu, a wonderful city for a wonderful trend, which is probably very destructive in this country. We probably don't have the infrastructure or the temperament for it, but I used to love a good cocktail in a bag place in Daegu. Quite often have a Strong Island iced tea, which is like a
Cocktail
Long Island
in
iced
a
tea.
bag.
Yeah, like a
What kind of
little Ziploc bag, like you might put your sangers in here. Just one of them. Load of Long Island iced tea in it, straw in the top. Walk around the streets having a blast on that.
it sounds great. Pizza any shape you want and a bag of cocktail. Unfortunately, all the characters in this film don't get any of that.
They don't get
No.
any. There's no time because they can't even get into the station because the tracks are all fucked up.
Yeah. Um oh yeah, so how does Yon Suk gets out of the he pushes the attendant dude into the zombies. And everybody gets out, don't they? And this is when we get the big flaming train
Yeah, train just comes up behind them. Another train arrives afterwards, which is
on fire. I feel like I want to know the story of that train. You know, how's that whole
Yeah,
thing
what's gone
ended up
on?
on fire? Mad. Um, and
imagine if it was something really benign. That someone's gone. There's no zombies at all, but someone's just fucking about.
oh, I'm gonna, yeah. I mean, it is scary, though, isn't it? I mean, this
I
is probably like
guess
the
this
big
was
sort
probably
of.
that era, Ben, when there were those problems with those phones overheating. What if it was just that? Someone's got their phone in their pocket. 2016.
Oh
Tried
no,
charging a Samsung. Fucked a train.
that's the real
Someone's
Bugging
gone.
it.
apocalypse.
Someone's gone. Oh, can I borrow? It says this plug's not for mobile phones. This is just for the vacuum to clean the train. It won't hurt anything. Plug it.
Boom. There we go. So what happens now? Everyone gets out, don't they? And
The driver, before he gets out, makes an announcement. Says, "Hey,
yeah,
everyone, you can stay. The track is blocked. I am going to go and find the KTX captain."
yeah.
Does not get enough credit for being a true hero of this
He
film.
is a true hero. He didn't give a fuck. He's
Yeah,
just
he's
like,
just got on a bit like the good folks in Shin Godzilla, people that just get on and get their job done.
yeah, he's committed
Um,
to it.
yeah, and he's like, okay, you can either stay here and hope a rescue comes, or I am going to go and find a working train. I'm going to move it to the far left track, and I'm going to carry on to Busan.
Mm.
Mm, yeah. So what does everybody do?
Well, our goodies just plan to do exactly that. They get off the train, and then horrible COO. I would say if they'd worked, I think this is where you see he really takes an even more villainous turn because it goes from something that is an instinctive reaction out of fear to what is easiest for me. He makes no attempt to work with the train conductor to escape together. He actively uses him and sacrifices him so he
Mm.
can escape.
Yeah. And he gets a taste for it, I think, because he keeps doing
I
it.
love pushing people in front
He
of
loves pushing
zombies.
people in the way because he does it to Jin-hee as well. When her and uh Yongguk are they make it to the train, he makes it as well, but then he just pushes Jin-hee in the way again. And she just gets killed. That's it.
Yeah.
Gets immediately turned. And this is like another heartbreaking moment is that uh Yongguk just stays with her, doesn't even attempt to escape or kill her or anything. He just lets she turns, and then she kills him.
Yeah.
So it's pretty horrific. Yeah. Um. Okay.
So we haven't got that many people
No,
left.
not many people
No.
left. We got so
Suan.
when does so the train when so the train crashes obviously, doesn't it? Is that pretty much now?
The train crashes, and then you see more zombies start spilling out of the derailed train. Our heroes get
Yeah.
separated. So we have Suk-woo, Suan,
The
and
homeless guy.
of
Yeah.
course,
They're like trapped
homeless man.
underneath the carriage, aren't they? That's right, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. And this is a pretty horrific thing. Like they're right there in the glass, like right up against them,
Yep.
the zombies. Um, Suk Woo managed to find a way out from under the carriage, and um, I think some like debris falls, and he manages to like move some of it. But this is where the homeless man sacrifices himself. He gets a heroic moment to buy time for Suk Woo to clear the debris, and Suan and the pregnant woman Song Kyung manage to escape onto this new locomotive. So yeah, this is
Hmm.
pretty much it. These are the
And the
final
train
three.
and the train captain gets got because he is going away,
Yeah.
and we see that horrible COO going, help me!" And we see him get attacked by the zombies and
Yeah.
bitten, but
Yes.
the train captain still comes and like keeps the train running slowly, tries to rescue him, and then gets basically he gets
Yeah.
himself up, scrambles on top, and leaves him to die.
And this is the big shot, the big set piece, isn't it, of everybody running towards this new train with all the zombies descending on them from all directions.
This
It
is the moment
is
where they form a fist, right?
Yeah. An exclamation mark.
they
Yeah.
form a big grab hand and just come back. Yeah, I mean this is as close as we get to like the World War Z like piles of zombies, isn't it? Because when they do kind of like all grab on to the train as well.
But
Um,
before they do CGI merge them into a big, like almost water mass of zombies, again, like I cannot call this out enough. Like the amount of, even for the smallest parts on this film, the unique takes they have and the diversity of the different running styles. Like I feel like this is a scenes here you could watch back and you could pick a different one to watch, and the performances are so they fit together very, very well. But
Yeah.
not just a copy and paste is what you're
yeah,
saying, isn't it? Yeah.
yeah, they all have such unique things. I think in a lesser film, you probably would CG these in and be like, oh well, six different models, whack them in.
Six different models. There we go. So yeah, they make it to the train, but obviously the zombies grab on as well. What does
Has
he
to
do? Just
stomp them
manage to
off.
kick them off, boot them off?
Yeah, just stomps them off because they're only holding one handle,
Yeah, yeah, boots them off. Um, and then goes into the train sort of like what do you call it?
like the cabin.
Cabin.
Cabin. And old Suk Woo, the man who never dies, is there. Even bitten, even turning, he's still like fighting it, and he's still ever so sweaty.
Yeah.
He's still ever so sweaty.
And this is where we finally get a little bit of payoff to why he is. He's saying, like, I have to get home. I need to get back to my mother. I live in this apartment and this address.
Mm.
And, you know, you get that little tiny bit of sympathy for him that ultimately
Nah,
he's not a mustache twirling villain.
It's
He's a
like he's a little
scared
boy.
person. Yeah.
like a little scared
Yeah.
boy. Yeah, I feel like it's one step too far though. Maybe
He's
the
done too
stuff
many
he's
bad
done.
things. His mom would be so disappointed if she'd
His
known
mum
what
be
he'd done.
fuming. Yeah, yeah, exactly. And then we get into the sort of this big final battle of him and Suk Woo. Um, I'll be fuming, making it all the way here, right to the end, and it's him who bites you. Um, yeah, he puts Suan and what does he do?
Well, he gets rid of our bad bloke by
Yep.
they're wrestling, and he obviously is trying to protect his daughter particularly, and obviously the pregnant lady as well, because as soon as they make a noise to try to he goes for them, and that's why he like literally thrusts his hand into his mouth
Mm.
to stop him
Stop him biting. Yeah.
biting them, and then he attaches himself by a chain so he can basically throw them both off the edge, but knowing with his attachment he will hang on, he will basically not be thrown. He throws him off the train, and then
Mm.
he's able to pull himself back up, but he has been bitten. He knows he's infected, and it
Yeah.
is going to be minutes basically that he has
Minutes.
left.
He can already feel his eyes getting milky. You know.
Yeah.
Um. So yeah, he puts Soo-an and Seung-kyung into the engine room, teaches, basically tells the latter how to use the train, and says goodbye to Soo-an. And this is heartbreaking because she is devastated and she's desperate for him not to leave. She's like, I don't want you to go. I need you and
Mm.
stuff like that. And he's got absolutely no choice. It's not a case of just having to sacrifice yourself at this stage. He is going to turn whatever she says or does. So he has
And
to.
we've seen that we go through such a journey, I think, from being, you know, in the case of a couple of hours, but through all they've been through in the last 2 hours, you've seen his opinion, his daughter's opinion of him change,
Mm,
and she doesn't have to feel like he's selfish and out for himself anymore. He has learned so much in what these couple of hours have been, and he's seen lots of people sacrifice themselves to help him and his family. He, in turn, has gone through a lot to help other people more
yeah,
than he has. Tell you what, he's come out of this a much better dad if he could just avoid dying, but it's too
yeah,
late.
and that's the thing. You're so desperate for him to survive at this stage, aren't you? You just want them all to survive because we've lost so many people along the way. Let these people survive. But yeah, this is a super heartbreaking moment when he leaves them in the engine room and remembers when his daughter was born. And despite the fact he's got milky eyes and little tendrils of infection going up his face, he's smiling.
And he lets himself fall off the.
Yeah, I mean that's a great shot as well, isn't it? Just
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you imagine? Obviously, we've seen this in such a contained time. Imagine if it just makes you go mad for a day and then you get better, like in that the fog book that you read, Ben. You eventually get better
Oh
from
yeah.
being mad.
You get all right after a while. You go, bloody hell, that was mad, wasn't it? Yeah. Oh,
Oh,
I
you
really want myself
wake
earlier.
you wake up with such a bad head, like oh.
What a nightmare.
He might not be dead though. He just fell off the moving train. How fast was it going?
Imagine otherwise fine, but you've chipped a tooth. Oh,
Otherwise fine, but his whole face has been ripped off, unfortunately. Um, so yeah, it's a great shot of his shadow falling off the
yeah.
train as well. No, we don't see his body like just roll
Yeah,
roll.
I think it'd really change the tone of the
Yeah, it
film
would.
if you saw him get absolutely like gibbed on the
Yeah,
train
watching him
tracks.
get gibbed. And we do get a little bit of an extended ending where Soo-an and Seong Kyung they stop the train at this tunnel. They walk through it, and there's like the army, like snipers, are on the other side of the tunnel, obviously killing any infected that come through. They get ready to shoot them. I think they get like the go ahead from like someone on the radio.
Yeah, they say, "Can you He says, "Verify them for infection." He says, "Oh, can't verify visually." He goes, "I'll shoot him then."
Shoot them
And
then,
then
yeah.
he happens to
Yes.
hear
Mm.
lovely bit
Happens
of
to
singing.
hear singing the song and like the lyrics as well. Like when we, what was it like? It's basically "We'll Meet Again," isn't it?
Yeah,
But
I
Yeah.
feel like this when I hear this song and I don't know the cultural background. For me, Hawaii song, right?
yeah, that's right. But yeah,
Or
just
like certainly for us growing up, like Looney Tunes cartoons. If you're like, this is you going off to a
Yes.
desert island to have a nice goodbye.
yeah, sad, super sad, but I guess hopeful in the end, and that's it.
Yeah, they're
That's the
safe.
end.
The
They're
the
safe. Well,
army
for
don't shoot them, and they like go. That you see the
yeah,
army men say, "Oh, we've confirmed survivors," and they go towards them to
there
rescue them.
there is the sequel Peninsula as well. Have you seen that, Zara?
I haven't seen it. It came out a few years after, didn't it?
Yeah, it came out in
Yeah.
2020.
Yeah.
I've seen it. Very, very different film. Very action heavy. If I remember right, lots of car chases, shooting, and zombies as well, I guess. Didn't have the sort of emotional heart to it that the original had.
Right.
And well, we were talking about the English language remake, Last Train to New York as well. But I read that it's apparently been like removed off the slate and was replaced by Evil Dead Rise, the Warner Brothers schedule.
Oh.
So I don't know if it's just been completely because it was supposed to come out in 2023. Um, yeah, so I don't know if it's been completely binned off or what. But I mean, I wouldn't be entirely against some level of remake. I mean,
No.
sometimes they can be all right, can't they? But
I'm one of those things. Like I'm not against it, but at the same time, I don't know what a different version will add
yeah, no.
that this didn't achieve.
I think making people aware of the original is probably the best thing like a English language remake can do. Um, sometimes. But yeah.
Yeah, I guess the other thing as well of what you have to think about, maybe the appeal of this has dropped off because the difference between 2016 and now,
Yeah.
the biggest piece of streaming entertainment was Korean. Like Squid Game was
Mm.
enormous.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. There we go then. Andy, have you got any name game, or should we just rate the film?
I can top of the dome some if you want to
You
do
could top
some,
it
Ben.
down some name game. All right,
Yeah,
okay.
go
Let's
on.
explain. Let's explain it to Zara. Basically, what we'll do is we're going to give you a synopsis to a movie that sounds a little bit like Train to Busan, but isn't Train to Busan. Based on our clue, you have to give us what the title of the movie is. These movies don't exist. They merely rhyme
Oh.
with Train to
Yeah,
Busan.
so just to be clear, I think the explanation we did last week, Ben, we may have finally nailed this.
I think
Imagine
we've
if the
nailed it.
good
Yeah.
folks at the asylum were coming up with legally distinct films to Train to Busan.
Okay. Do you need uh you need a synopsis, don't you?
Yes, please, Ben.
Okay. So the synopsis is a zombie virus breaks out in South Korea. Passengers struggle to survive on the train from Seoul to Busan.
Okay. Do you have some? Do you want to start with, or would you like me to go
You want me
first?
to
I can go
start?
first
Love
if
it.
you like, Ben. I can
Uh,
go. So, in this film, Sarah and Ben, um, a man tries to get his daughter desperately to the coastal city in South Korea. The only problem is that it's actually not as far away as a train ride. He's just much lower than this, so he uses a piece of industrial equipment to lift his daughter up to where she needs to be.
Crane to Busan?
Crane to Busan. There you go, and it's that
Oh, that'd
simple.
be a much shorter
Oh
film, wouldn't it? Just put the
God.
crane up. Just get it there.
We just know how to use one, Ben. There's zombies getting in the way.
I'd see. Again, I'd watch that easily.
Yeah.
I can only think of mad ones, so I'm gonna have to.
Do a mad one.
I'm gonna have to continue. Okay. So a zombie virus breaks out in South Korea. Passenger struggles to survive on the train from Seoul to Busan. The bad guy in this one, though, it's not the COO, the evil COO. It's a member of the boy band, Another Level. What's he doing on the train? He's on his way to do another team up with Victoria Beckham. They did a song in 1 year, but he's on his way and he don't want to. He needs to survive basically to make a new track. Who is it?
Dane to Busan.
Dane
Yes,
Bowers to
that's
Busan.
right.
Yeah.
Dane brackets Bowers to Busan. I'd watch that as well.
Yeah.
Yep.
Andy.
In this film, a zombie virus has overtaken South Korea, and the only person who can possibly cure everyone is a hyper intelligent mouse, once destined to take over the world. But you've got to get him to Busan.
Brain to Busan.
The brain to Busan.
Brain to Busan. I like it. I mean, it's going to be it's going to be on the similar the similar realms of my last one, but let's go again. While a zombie virus breaks out in South Korea, passengers struggle to survive on a cruise ship. This cruise ship is going from going from somewhere to Busan, and it's headed up by a light entertainment television presenter, born and raised in Wakefield.
No.
Loves to sing song as well, usually at the end of an episode.
Jane McDonald to Busan.
Jane McDonald to Busan. Can you imagine? Train to Busan ends. It dips to black, and we think it's the end, and suddenly it's Jane
Jane
giving
McDonald
Jane
emerges.
McDonald.
doing a musical number, just
I
singing about
love.
That's what she says
Train-
to distract the zombies.
Yeah.
Train to Wakey. Any more, Andy?
One more from me, Ben, at very least. So, in this, having been actually commissioned not as a 2 hour film, but as a 10 episode television series, the producers of this version decide that they're going to need more distance to cover. So, they begin the journey in a Mediterranean European country all the way to Busan.
Mediterranean European country, all the way to
Yeah, it's got to be longer. 10 episode series.
Spain to Busan.
Spain to Busan. Very good. Michael Palin just does a journey, has a lovely time.
Confused me then. Confused me. apologies for this one, Zara, because you said you're not a wrestling fan, but I've got to do this one. While a zombie virus breaks out in South Korea, passengers struggle to survive on the train from Seoul to Busan. And the train's driven by, is he a man or is he a big red machine? He
Is
might be a
it
big red machine.
Kane to Busan?
Kane to Busan. Correct.
I thought about comedically guessing wrongly, then gone the edge to Busan.
I've got another one, but I'm trying to think of someone who's not obvious for this one. I'm going to go for this one, and I hope everyone's got the same level of constantly online brain rot as I have,
Okay.
and I hope they get it. Um, well, a zombie virus breaks out in South Korea. Passengers struggle to survive on a train from Seoul to Ibiza, and in Ibiza, the brother of of a famous footballer is there, living it up. He's just a bit of a pest. He loves a drink, and he loves copping off with someone much younger than him.
Wayne Lineker to Busan.
Wayne Lineker
Thank you
to
so
Busan. I'm
much.
glad you got that, Sarah,
Wayne
because I would have
Lineker
not
to
got it.
Busan. I'm glad everyone's on the same wavelength as me today because I could have been humiliated.
I'll do you one more before I wrap this up, and it sounds similar, but I can't resist doing deep cuts like this. So in this episode, the only way that we'll be saved from a zombie virus is if a CBBC broom cupboard presenter, once partnered with Ed the Duck, can get to Busan to save the day.
Oh no, is that too deep a cut, Andy? Ed the Duck.
Yeah, he used to partner with him before Andy Peters came on board.
I
Oh,
was thinking
before.
Andy Peters, yeah.
God. Is it someone called Dwayne?
Sadly, it sounds like my first one. It's Andy Crane. BBC's known Andy Crane to Busan.
Okay, so now what we've got to do is rate the film, rate good or rate bad. And it's extra special that someone from the Rate Scary podcast is here to help us with that. So A to F, pluses and minuses are allowed. Where do you sit on this one, Sarah?
Oh, rate good. I've got to put it as an A, I think.
Yeah.
Maybe even A plus.
Yeah, don't hold back on our
No.
account, Zara. A plus if you want to.
I think if I can't pick something from the film that I would change or that I want to pick fault with, then I'm going to give it top marks.
Mm.
And I think Train to Busan for me, I'm pretty sure I've rated it 5 out of 5 on Letterboxd. So I'm going A plus.
Hell yes. Hell yes. I mean, I would probably say an A. I don't think it's right up there as like one of my absolute favorites, but I think it could be because I feel like I was a little bit. I really liked it the first time I saw it, but I wasn't like absolutely in love with it. And I feel like the more every additional time that I've watched it, I've appreciated it even more.
Mm.
Especially with a film I've seen multiple times, and it's still making me feel there's like extreme emotions. Like right at the end, I genuinely am like sad. I am genuinely like gutted. I'm heartbroken. And yeah, I just love the unique twists on the zombie genre as well. I think it's a really well made film. The action's great, the horror's great. It just ticks all the boxes. But yeah, so currently an A. It could be an A plus in the future, but currently I'm gonna go for an A. Andy.
I'm going to join you, Ben. I'm going to go for an A. The only reason I'm not going with you, Zara, on A plus is because I'm worried about being too biased by recency. Because I only saw it the first time
Fair.
yesterday.
Mm.
So I've only seen it the once and haven't had time to appreciate all of the little bits. So I don't want to be like a mug coming out, like saying, "Oh, Ang Lee's The Incredible Hulk was the best film I've ever seen." The second I walk out the cinema, I want to be like, I think give me another watch or two of this film, and maybe I'll be there with you on an A plus. But just to make sure I'm not mugging myself off, I will begin with just an A for right now. But still, very very strong. A great film. I think when I had my knee-jerk reaction on Letterboxd, I put it straight at a 4.5.
Mm.
You know what? I'm
Yeah.
probably going to go and up this to a 5 though, because I think it's a 5-star movie. It's really, really good. Loved it. Like emotionally dense, has a whole range of things going on there. I know 2016 isn't a billion years ago, but especially with CG stuff, it can date quickly, and I think this still looks really, really sharp.
Mm. Yeah, absolutely. There we go then. We're all fans. We're all big
Big
fans, which is
fans.
great. Thanks so much for joining us, Zara. Where can our listeners keep up to speed with your podcasts, your social media content, and everything like that?
So it's Rate Scary on YouTube and all of your podcast players, and then Scary Zara Mary on pretty much every single social media channel going, TikTok, Instagram, Threads, and Blue
Hell
Sky, I
yes.
think.
Oh, wow.
Whatever else comes along, I'll be on there. So yeah.
I'll see you over there. Um, well, thank you so much. We'll put links to all of that in the show notes, of course, as we usually do. Yeah, so thank you again, and thanks everybody for listening. If you enjoyed the show, Jesus Christ, nearly got
Get
taken over
choked up
by a
all that
zombie
emotion,
virus then.
all that emotional weight.
Got milky eyes. What's
Yeah,
going on?
the old milky eyes were getting me for a second.
Keep Ben at past 11 and
The
his
old
eyes will get ever
semi-skimmed
so
eyes were going to
milky.
get me there. Okay, thanks for listening. If you enjoyed the show, become a patron over at patreon.com/horror hangout. Thanks to all of our patrons over there. Thanks to Taj Easton for our theme music. Thanks to Acast hosting the show. Please consider giving us a rating or review. And we're on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, all of those places. Horrorhangout.co.uk for everything in one go. And next week, we're talking about Wolfman, the new Wolfman, the Lee Wannell. Wolfman, Wannell? I'll say Wannell like flannel.
I say
Agree?
Wanel like Chanel number
Wanel,
5.
yeah.
Wannell? Oh, side him with
I'm gonna
Andy.
say Wannel now though.
Immediately side him with Andy, is it? I know it works. I prefer Wannell. I would say that to his face as well. Wannell? Yeah. No, it's Wannell.
Have you considered saying your name like this?
Say it differently.
From me,
pleasure.
Ben Errington.
Ben Errington. I like that as well, though. I'll
Like
take
a
it. I'll
ringtone.
take it. Right. See you all very soon, and thanks again for listening.
Yeah,
And
thanks for listening,
again,
everyone.
Zara.
If you do find yourself with a spare bit of time and money of it, so think far worse things to spend it on than a lovely trip to Korea. Sparkling.
Hashtag ad. Hashtag sponsored. Hashtag Andy's travel
And his
tip.
travel diaries. Me and Michael Palin around the world from Spain to
You,
Busan.
Michael Palin, Jane
Jane
McDonald,
McDonald.
all together.
Oh,
Wayne Lineker, if you're doing a lovely Ibiza episode. Right. That's the end.
see you later, everybody. Bye.
Bye.